Hello everybody, welcome back to the bookshop at Burnley Market Hall. We've got lots of books new in, so let's quickly look through them all. Okay guys, we're mega packed out. I mean look how crazy this is. Starters, look at outside, and then inside is just as mental. So we're super stocked up. We're not even going to be able to have a look through everything. This video is going to be long, but yeah, we'll look through as much as we can. We've even got cases. I don't know if these cases were here last time, but just about everywhere you can imagine there's cases, all around the front as well, all new, all at the top, all down the side here we tidy up, so it looks really good. Like across the top here, more new cases, even over there above the door there's new cases, and then this has been switched up a little bit at the side, but lots of children's stuff there. So yeah, let's try and look through as much as we possibly can do. Okay, first something new in today, we have Flannables. We've got more Flannables by Ricky Gervais, Flannables of the Deep by Ricky Gervais, and the original Flaminols by Ricky Gervais. Next up we have The Life of Our Lord by Charles Dickens, Power of Karma by Mary T. Brown, Som by Lynn MacDonald, Investigators by John Patrick Green, Runaways Missing by Marvel, Hey Diddle Diddle kids book, On Safari kids book, Mistress of All Evil by Disney, Part of Your World by Disney, Apprentice to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mehra, Her by Harriet Lane, Killers of the Flower Moon by David Gran, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy by John le Carré, D-Day by Stephen Ambrose, Dominion by C.J. Sanson, The Truth About You by Susan Lewis, and The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. Oh, and we've got two more here. We've got Catherine Cookson's Colourblind and Catherine Cookson's The Maltese Angel. Hey guys, we've got some more new stuff in. First of all, we've got this book printed in-house, bit of a crease there, we usually sell them online for a little bit more, but Alice by Lewis Carroll. It's actually got Lewis Carroll's books and some extracurricular stuff. See, Alice in Orchestra Land, Orchestralia, Fairyland of Science, Alice in Blunderland, Looking Glass, and Wonderland, and Underground. Some awesome little pocket book printed here in Burnley. By us, we've got Ultimatum by Frank Gardner, Spare by Prince Harry, The Gone series, Lies by Michael Grant, Monster by Michael Grant, Gone by Michael Grant, Villain by Michael Grant, Hero by Michael Grant, Plague by Michael Grant, Hunger by Michael Grant, Light and Fear. Got Worthy by Jade Pinkett Smith, Pinkett, The Break by Marianne Keyes, The Night Bus Hero by Anjali Q. Ralph, Gerald Seymour's Beyond Recall, Nothing Without Me by Helen Montakar, Escaping Daddy by Maria Landon, Henning Mankell's The Man from Beijing, Notes and Crosses by Mallory Blackman, Jodi Picoult's Vanishing Acts, Philippa Gregory's Dark Tides, The Politician by Tim Sullivan, Maeve Binchley's The Return Journey. Oh, and that one was in the other day. Hey guys, we've got lots new in. We've got all these ones here, and also absolutely tons of Bibles which have stupidly not looked at, but I put them into wherever I could. So there's a big stack of Bibles there. Holy Bible Gideon's, New English Bible, New Testament, another one of them, and another one but with an Apocrypha, another Good News, another New English Bible, Good News, Good News, Good News, Good News, Good News, New English, New English, New English, Good News, New English with Apocrypha, Good News, New Testament and Psalms, and Good News. All these ones are New Jerusalem, Good News, some more New English, some more Good News. So lots of Bibles, lots more due to be put in the shop as well. And then here we have Miss Winterbottom Takes a Gap Year by Joanna Nell. Great Sea Stories by multiple authors. Rebel Heart by Moira Young. Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. Where is God in a Messed Up World by Roger Carswell. Why Me by Roger Carswell. Different books by D.H. Lawrence. Out of Africa by Karen Blishin, I think. No Time Like Showtime by Michael Hoy. Jenny Colgan's Close Knit. Innocent Blood by James Rollins. Jeremy Clarkson on Cars and Go Vegan in 5 minutes. And we have Joanna Trollops writing as Caroline Varby's The Steps of the Sun. Timmy Failure, We Meet Again by Stephen Pastis. Head of State by Andrew Marr. The Mayor of Casterbridge by Thomas Hardy. Peter Robinson's The Price of Love. The Shape of Expletive to Come by Steve Law and Alan MacArthur. Bear Grylls Adventures, The Earthquake Challenge. Bear Grylls Adventures, The Desert Challenge. Tom Gates' My School Project, Family, Friends and Furry Creatures by Liz Pitchen. The Black Velvet Crown by Catherine Cookson. Bear Grylls Adventures, The Arctic Challenge. What Monster by Liz Pitchen from the Tom Gates series. My Favourite Mistake by Marianne Keyes. The Gillivers by Catherine Cookson. And My Beloved Son by Catherine Cookson.
Hey guys, we've got some more new stuff in just now. First of all, Andy Stanton's Nat Off. 1 Million Years of Stupidity, illustrated by David Jazzyman. Can't Talk to Anyone by Lily Lowndes. Psychology by Teach Yourself. An Idiot Abroad by Carl Pilkington. Kid Normal by Greg James and Chris Smith. Yob Nation by Francis Gilbert. Dreams of Gods and Monsters by Laini Taylor. They Thought I Was Dead by Peter James. Unstoppable by Dan Friedman. Stolen by Susan Lewis. The Crooked Show by Martin Edwards. Twisted by Emily McIntyre. A State of Fear by Laura Dodsworth. Picture You Dead by Peter James. Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. The Last Sin Eater by Francine Rivers. Vampires Never Get Old by edited by multiple authors. If This Is Born by Stuart Evers. SSTV by Len Theaton. It Ends With Us by Colin Hoover. Room by Emma Donoghue. Insurgent by Veronica Roth. Endgame by Mallory Blackman. Repackaging Christianity by Andrew Atherstone. Notes from the Internet Apocalypse, a novel by Wayne Gladstone. Jonathan Safran's Fires, Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. China Rich Girlfriend by Kevin Kwan. Emergency Questions by Richard Herring. After by Anna Todd. Cruel Truth by James Calatinita. After We Collided by Anna Todd and After We Fell by Anna Todd. School for Good and Evil, Quest for Glory by Solomon Chianane. Women on the Edge of Time by Marge Pierce. Victoria Hislop's Figurine. A Botanical Daughter by Noah Medlock. I'm Right Here by Yvonne Cassidy. Lee Child's Better Off Dead. The Man That Got Away by Lynn Truss. Do Not Become Alarmed by Maylene Melloy. Before by Ann Todd. Time of Death by Mark Billingham. In Red Weather, Tigers in Red Weather by Lisa Closeman. Thomas Hardy's Selected Poems. The Record Keeper by Agnes Comillion. Last Witness by Lucy Whitehouse. and The Housemaid is Watching by Frida McFadden. Hey guys, got some more stuff in. We've got One, There Is a History of Women Walking by Kerry Andrews. The Professor by Charlotte Bronte. Sammy Davis Jr.'s autobiography, One, Just Ignoring by Alan Davies. A Little Child Shall Lead Them by Anne Riding. Dark Spectre by Michael Dibdin. Gareth Nix's Shades Children. Before the Fall by Noah Hawley. Crisis by Frank Gardner. Rapid People on Earth by Demis Shakaria. The Lost Daughter by Diane Chamberlain. The Vault by Peter Whistler. Virtual Reality by Howard Rheingold. Redemption by Nancy Geary. The Death's Head Chess Club by John Donahue. Take Me, Bryson Keller by Kevin Van Wire. Football and Gangsters by Graham Johnson. The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. The Family from Warning Street by Eve Garnett. More Classroom Clangers by Vincent Chaney. There's No More Chance in Hell by J.D. Kirk. His Only Wife by Pete Adzor-Nede. The Rig by George Ducey. Metro Girl by Janet Ivanovich. The Girl on the Train by Paul Olsons. Shadows in the Sky by Pete Frost. Very British Problem by Rob Temple. And Really by Jeremy Clarkson. And some more new stuff in. We've got Taffy Glasses, The Saddest Girl in the World. Agatha Christie's Marple, 12 New Stories. The Say Keep by Yale van der Woerden. A 100-year-old Man Who Climbed Out of the Window and Disappeared by Jonas Jonasson. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire by J.K. Rowling. The Spy Course by Tess Gerritsen. Scott Mariani's Graveyard of Empires. The Escape by David Baldacci. Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. Does My Head Look Big in This by Randa Abdel Fattah. The Trials of Life by David Attenborough. Dandy in the Underworld by Sebastian Horsley. Empress by Graham Masterton. The Dragon Man by Gary Disher. A background anthology of English poetry by D. Trotiro and J.W. Rowe. Night World by L.J. Smith. Looking for Alaska by John Green. I Asked and He Talked by Vanessa Robertson. The Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield and Carol Adriana. Eye for an Eye by M.J. Aldley. The Magician's Guild by Trudy Canavan. Cinderella is Dead by Colleen Bayron. Jenny by I think Jenny, by Paul Gallico. The Summer Guest by Tess Gerritsen. Marvel's Avengers Mighty Heroes. Suicide in Prisons by Graham Towell. Where's Stitch by Disney. Philip Pullman's His Dark Materials, The Amber Spyglass, The Subtle Knife, and Northern Lights. I Forgive You Daddy by Lizzie McGlynn. The Darkest Unicorn by, it's another Disney book, I'm not sure. But What Can I Do by Alistair Campbell. 50 Dead Men Walking by Martin McFarlane. Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerry Maniscalco. The Face of the Window by Ruby Speechley. Perfect Wife by J.P. Delaney. Do Android Dream Electric Sheep by Hey Dick. Say No More by Karen Rose. Patricia Highsmith's The Truth Faces of January. And Solitaire by Alice Osman. You can check that out at the back, going high up, all the way across, all the way to the back. Looking amazing. And all this out here as well. Getting really nice and tidy. Ready for another year. Another stock. So new in today we've got Dead at First Sight by James. The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Steve Lawson. The Kill List by Nadine Matheson. Robert Ludlum's Born Supremacy, Born Identity, and The Born Ultimatum. Lee Child In Too Deep, The Moses Legacy, The Evidence of History by Graham Phillips, Philip Ross The Human Stain, Michael Favor's The Crimson Petal and the White, David Hewson's A Season for the Dead, Making Waves by Catherine Todd, Exciting Times by Naomi C. Dolan, Twice Burned by Kit Craig, After by Padraig Kenny, The Gilded Seal by James Twinning, The Alexander Cipher by Will Adams, Bill Bryson's The Short History of Everything, James Follett's Those in Peril, Susan Salis' Omnibus, The Man Who Died Twice by Richard Osman, Girl 4 by Will Carver, Arctic Dream by Barry Lopez, and Where's the Dinosaur? Some more new stuff in. We've got True Story of Great Escapes, Celtic Weird Tales of Wicked Folklore and Dark Mythology, edited by Johnny Mains. What Have You Done by Shari Lapina, Maestra by Ellis Hilton, The Book of Dust by Philip Pullman, Observer Book of Castles, Rory McLean's next exit to Magic Kingdom, Stone Cold Steve Austin's The Condemned, God Loves a Trier by James Cowell, This Book Could Save Your Life by Graham Norton, Outsider by Stephen King, From Bad to Curse by Lana Harper, The War of the Roses by Trevor Royal, The Primrose Path by Rebecca Griffiths, Lancaster Witches by William Harrison Ainsworth, Fallen Liars by Ian Leslie, The Lamplighters by Emma Stornix, A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin, Rat Pack by Sean Levy, Void Moon by Michael Connolly, Crime of Passion by Sandra Lou, Torment by Lauren Tate, Plum Island by Nelson DeMille, Dear Evening Hansen by Val Emmett, Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan, Ready Player One by Ernest Cline, Goblet of Fire by J.K. Rowling, Not Small Big Country by Bill Bryson, The Irishman by Charles Brand, Walking the Nile by Leviston Wood, The Heart of Life by David Ilsley, Shine by Andy Cope and Gavin Oates, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, and Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows by J.K. Rowling.
Lots more in. Just now done. We've got Ridley Pearson's The Pied Piper, Cyber Alert by Peter Warren and Michael Streeter, Talking with Female Serial Killers by Christopher Berry D, Talking with Serial Killers, World's Most Evil by Christopher Berry D, and Talking with Serial Killers, Dead Men Talking by Christopher Berry D, Talking with Serial Killers, Sleeping with Sacrifice by Christopher Berry D, Painting and Drawing by Pocket Encyclopedia, Time and Time Again by Ben Elton, The Cellist of Sarajevo by Stephen Galloway, The Tattooist of Auschwitz by Heather Morris, Amber Roberts, Haunt Your Art Out, Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus, Dakota Home by Debbie McCormer, Peekaboo Pumpkin, The Farm by Richard Benson, Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton, First Time Poets edited by Susie Goodall, Don't Point That Thing at Me by Cairo Bonfigole, The Stolen Lake by Joan Aiken, Something Nasty in the Woodshed by Kiri Bonfigiore, A Tidy Ending by Joanne Cannon, The Looking Glass Wars by Frank Beddoe, That Loving Feeling by Carol Matthews, Confessions of a 40-something Effort by Alexandra Potter, Poems of W.B. Yeats by a new selection, Prisoner 13498 by Robert H. Davis, Bellman and Black by Diane Setterfield, None of This Is True by Lisa Joe, The Informer by Sean O'Callaghan, Secret by Rhonda Byron, The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafran, Dunkirk by Robert Jackson, The Stuff of Nightmares by Mallory Blackman, Get Shorty by Elmore Leonard. Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell. Joseph Finder's Judgment. Silverview by John le Carre. The Last Juror by John Grisham. Letters to Daniel by Fergal Keane. Curvantes by Don Quixote. Pokemon Encyclopedia. Everdark by Abby Elphinstone. Biscuit Factory by James Harris. Harry Hill's Whopping Big Joke Book. Jumme at the River School by Sabine Adelyenka. Varjav Poe by SF Said, I think, something like that. Dog Zombies Rule by Liz Pitchen. Tom Gates series. The Swifts by Beth Lincoln. Kid Normal by Greg James and Chris Smith. Kid Normal in Shadow Machine by Greg James and Chris Smith. Low Key by Lewis Stowell. Low Key, A Bad God's Guide to Ruling the World. Kid Normal. Low Key, A Bad God's Guide to Being Good. Parent Agency by David Baddiel. Catching Underpants, there's 3 fantastic novels in one by Dave Pilkey. Horrible Histories, Awful Egyptians. We Are the Beaker Girls by Jacqueline Wilson. Spectacular School Trip by Liz Pitchen. Tom Gates series. What Monster by Liz Pitchen. Family, Friends and Furry Creatures by Liz Pitchen. And The Epic Adventures by Liz Pitchen.
Some more new stuff in. We've got Cosmos by Carl Sagan. Lee Childs, No Plan B. Myrtle by J.T. Carver. The Brief History of 7 Killings by Marlon James. This NASA book, NASA Visions of Space. Wuthering Heights by Emily Bront. Lady Chatterley's Lover by D.H. Lawrence. Indigo Blooms Match Point. Assassin's Creed The Secret Crusade by Oliver Bowden. Unstoppable by Paul Moat and CSI by Craig Todd. Some more new stuff in. We've got Alexander Child of a Dream by Valerio Massimo Manfredi. Colin Ingleden's Lord of the Boar. George R.R. Martin's The Dance with Dragons After the Feast. Spitfire by Jonathan Clancy. Kathy Glasses The Child Bride. No One Listen by Isabel Alex Kerr. Mama's Little Soldier by Cassie Watson. Let Me Go by Cassie Watson. Shai Keenan's Broken. The Strange Death of Fiona Griffiths. Law by Alexandra Bracken. George R. R. Martin's The Storm of Swords, Blood and Gold. A Dance with Dragons, Dream and Dust. Game of Thrones. Storm of Swords, Steel and Snow, Clash of Kings. The Spy of Venice by Bennett Brandreth. Midwives by Chris Borgellian. Terrified by Angela Hart. Damaged by Kathy Glass. The Possibility of an Island by Michael Hollebecque. Richard Wiseman's Think a Little Change a Lot. Cassandra Clark's Clockwork Princess. Shadowhunters. City of Ashes. Undoing Depression by Richard O'Connor, PhD. Mythos by Stephen Fry. Another Better Off Dead by Lee Child. Cassandra Clare's City of Fallen Angels, Shadowhunters. City of Lost Souls. Gangs of London by Brian MacDonald. Shadowhunters Codex by Cassandra Clark and Joshua Lewis. Sharon Bolton's Light is Forever. Bikers by Arthur Venno. The Plague Maiden by Kate Ellis. Snowflakes by Louise Nealon. Cassandra Clare's Shadowhunters. Eragon by Christopher Paolini. Shadow Clare's Cassandra Clare at City of Heavenly Fire. The Codex by Douglas Preston. The Pope by Anita Berg. Cassandra Clare's Lady Midnight. The Philosopher's Pupil by Iris Murdoch. Clockwork Prince by Cassandra Clare. The Last Devil to Die by Richard Osman. Red Hot Chili Peppers by The Way. Lee Child. Jack Reacher's One Shot. A Winter Promise by Christella Dabos. The Midnight Game by Cynthia Murphy. City of Glass. The 1% Club Code by Dave Nichols. Fade Away by Alan Corbin. No Justice by Kate Evans. Giving Up the Ghost by Hilary Mantel. Snuggy Brain by Douglas Stewart. No Middle Name by Lee Childs. And See You Yesterday by Rachel Lynn Solomon. And we got tons more stuff in here, so let's quickly try and run all this stuff on the floor, just fresh in right now with loads of this fantasy stuff. But let's try and do these first, actually. Get some order going on. So first of all, we've got Robin Hobbs. So these are Robin Hobbs. Robin Hobbs, Shaman's Coffin, The Mad Ship, Assassin's Quest, Ship of Magic, Royal Assassin. What I love about these are massive books. Fools, Errands, they're like pocket sets, like they're small, but they're just like, they really are full of text. Forest Mage, Ship of Destiny, Golden Fool, and Fool's Fate. Next up we have these, which I think multiple authors have come up. Douglas Miles' Fist and Bitters is Reborn, Dragons of the Winter Night, Night of Blood by Richard Twin, Time of the Twins by Wyman Hickman, Mother's Magier by Kevin Stein, Dragons of Spawn Dawning by Wyman Hickman, Dragons of Autumn Twilight by Wyman Hickman, Test of the Twins by Wyman Hickman, Dragons of Some Flame by Wyman Hickman, Horus Rising by Dan Abnett, Brothers in Arms by Margaret Weiss, In Sylvan Shadows by Arnold Saltovo, The Fallen Fortress, The Two Swords, Annihilation, Night Mass, the Zarian Gem, Resurrection, to the Thousand Oaks, based on George R. R. Martin's Dying of the Light. What? George Orwell, Clergyman's Daughter, Sea of Swords by R.A. Salvatore, Windwalker by Elaine Cunningham, War of the Twins by Reese Hickman, Servant of the Shard by R.A. Salvatore, Dissolution by Richard Lee Byers, Dragon of the Fallen Sun by Wyden Hickman, Book Wizards by Douglas Niles, Spine of the World by R.A. Salvatore, Silent Blade, Steam of Silver, Canticle, Homeland, War of the Twin, Legacy, Insurrection, Extinction, Condemnation, Starlight Night, Dragons of the Vanished Moon, Soul Forge, The Chaos Curse, The Crystal Shard, Dragon of Lost Star, that's the George R. R. Martin, Tolkien's The Return of the King and Fellowship of the Ring, the Trudy Canvans, Priestess of the White, The Novice, The Magician's Guild, Hard Lord, and Last of the Wilds. Some Warhammer books, Warhammer Yennefer Undead, Witchfinder, Necromancer, Witch Hunter, Traitor General, The Founding, To Be a Pilgrim by Joyce Reason, The Man Who Believed God by, it says The Story of Hudson Taylor by Marshall Grunk. It's an old book, really nice. David Livingstone's Heroes of the Cross, Warhammer Midstone, Logic, Larry Niven, Ringworld, Terry Pratchett's Interesting Times, Solo Music, and FUD, Battle Royale, Mango, there we go, Anne McCarthy's Pegasus in Space, R.A. Salvatore's Steel Wielder's Tale, Small Gods by Terry Pratchett, Neuromancer by William Gibson, Einstein's Relativity, and Introducing Einstein, Hyperspace by Michio Kaku, Super Strings by F. David Pete, The Space Merchants by Paul and Cornbluth. Cycle of Pathology of Everyday Life. How to Build a Time Machine by Paul Davis. Quantum Theory. Newton's Apple by Peter Orton. The City of Splendors by Ed Greenwood and Elaine Cunningham. The Worst Case Scenario Survival Handbook of Dating and Sex. There's called Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. John Norton Fantasy thing. Introducing Chaos. Giving a Beginner's Guide. Coming Victor Air by George Orwell. The series at the back, we haven't got to all these today, which is maybe come. The Heart of Chaos by The Traitors of Arnhem by Robert Vernac. Then Robin Hood, Assassin's Apprentice, Mark of Damnation, Warhammer, Shattered Mask, Dragon Slayer, Simpsons Strike Back, Court of Wings and Ruins by Sarah J. Maas, Crackdown by Bernard Cornwell, Ambassador for Christ by Milford Cable and Francis French, Bandit Country by Toby Harden, Childhood Instruction by Kathleen O'Malley, Jodie Picoult's Master's Keeper, The Psalms, Andrew O'Hagan's Caledonian Road, Blood of the Dragon, Van Gogh, Mark Huck's PSA War on the Book, In the Steps of St. Paul by H.B. Morton, Celtic Daily Prayer Collins book, Martina Coulter's Runaway, Mary Stewart, Madam Will You Talk, Mary Stewart's Wonder on the Right, and This Love Magic, Dead in Devon by Stephanie Austin, Kidnapped by Robert Louis Stevenson, Gonna Como Scoundrel, Raw Everything, Barry Barber, Maggie O'Farrell's The Marriage Portrait, Tony Hayden's One Child, Lewis, Steve Berners' Birds Without Wings, Blades of Chaos, Warhammer, Naked by David Sedaris, Star Trek books, The Lord Returns by Dr. Graham Goldfish, Our Father in the Faith by Joyce Leaven, Siege of Sardar, I don't know who this are, but look at these, Midnight Roll by Jackson and Livingston, Scorpion Swamp by Stephen Guy, Portal, Dark Portal by Robin Jarvis. Got some really rare books in, look at these, Shadow Master, What Are Clouds, a flipped flat book, Vault of the Vampire by Jackson Livingston, Biblical Psychology by Oswald Chambers, Collins Dictionary, Money, Sex and Power by Richard J. Foster, The Challenge to Discipline Life, The Holy Quran, The Meaning of the Holy Quran by Abdullah Yusuf Ali, Birds by Collins, Christian Counterculture by John R.W. Scott, Born Crucified, The Crossing the Life of the Believer, this little Pilgrim's Progress book, wow, The Scrolls from the Sea, Fontana by Edward Milson, Chasing a Dragon by Jackie Pullinger, that's meant to be an ace book, Darkness of the Walled City, in fact I might pull that out, read it myself, Remember Eve by Clarence and Evelyn Barnum, oh yeah, this one's actually really good as well, New Testament History, needs a bit of a clean up, but Old Testament history. Oh my God, is it this Old Testament? Or is it new? Old Testament history. What is this? Holy Lord! I'll put that with my gems at the side here. Which, by the way, look at these: the Bible Revised Standard Version, Rainbow Bible. This is absolutely awesome. King James Version of the Bible, and it's a really nice book, and the illustrations are just absolutely ace illustrations. We've done the Remember Eve, God's Calling by A.J. Russell, Jesus Christ and the World's Religions, or even this, 1927, it's coming up to 100 years old, Back Live by Frank Colin Kung.
Ian Livingstone's Trial of Champions, The Citadel of Chaos, The Claws of Chaos, Warhammer, Chasm of Malice. I think this is a Baptist hymn book. Yep. Anne by Thomas Nihal. My Family and Other Animals by Gerald Durrell. George III by John Clarke. Done that one. The Story of the British Isles in Warren Blade, Neil Oliver. Bernard Cornwell's Wild Track, A Red Dwarf, Better Than Life. Complete Works of Shakespeare. Wow. Guys, they're not going to be on the floor for long, don't worry, just because they're new in, they're going through sorting. Some of them need cleaning. Hi, you alright? How are you doing? Round the corner there's a few Harry Potters, yeah. Yeah. Okay, we've still got lots to look through here. We've got a bit mixed up, but these ones here that are just like so ace. So like stuff like this Harry Potter, they've got about 1 million Harry Potters around the corner. Carla's Choice, Birds. This one's Super String by F. David Pete. Dead Simple by Peter James. Almost Like a Whale by Steve Jones. It's the Origin of Species. The Curious Incident. Oh, look at this, Surfing Through Hyperspace by Clifford A. Pickover. Just looks absolutely ace. The Forgotten Child by Richard Gallier. The Baby Laundry Phone Married Mothers by Angela Patrick. The Church Inside Out by J.C. Hawkendi. It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. Robert Harris's Precipice. The Riddle of the Sands by Erskine Childers. Broken Heartlands. A Journey Through Labour's Lost England by Sebastian Payne. Plenty Under the Counter by Catherine Hewitt. Furies. Martina Cole's Good Night Lady. The Day That Nazis Came. Mary Stewart's The Moon Spinners. Super Spy Science by Catherine Harkup. R.L. Stein's The Dead Girlfriend. Barry Trotter by Michael Gerber. English Passengers by Catherine Keneally. Last Widow by Karen Slaughter. Agent Stitch, Studying Slime, Disney. Another Battle Royale manga. Ian Fleming's Casino Royale, Live and Let Die and Moonraker. Mary Stewart's Thorny Hold, Do Not Disturb by Frida McCannon. Wildfire at Midnight by Mary Stewart. Hyperspace by Mikio Kaku. The Portable Milton edited by Douglas Bush. Science of Harry Potter by Roger Highfield. The Ivy Tree by Mary Stewart. Stormy Petzl by Mary Stewart. The Sense of Style by Steven Pinker. Gravitas by Caroline Gord. Werner Cornwell's Stormchild, Sea Lord, and Michael Conley's The Black Echo. Got these old kings and stuff books, George VI and Charles II. The Bad Beginning, Series of Unfortunate Events. Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. Another Brog of the Stoop, Colleen Hoover. All these ones as well are new. Necromancer, Small Gods. Oh my god, Anne McCarthy, Einstein. I think we've gone through these ones. I know there's more that we haven't looked at because yeah, it must be in there somewhere. Unless I've left some to one side.
Hey guys, check out all this stuff we have in new all at the front. We've managed to squeeze in another 100 books. Actually, I think about 400 books maybe this week. In the last few days, all in like fantasy books. We're trying to squeeze them into different places, but you see all at the front there. It's definitely not easy. Like, look at all, and then all this is new again today. So, got New Testament, a couple of these New Testament songs, really nice Gideon's books, New English Bibles, another New English Bible, the New Testament Psalms and Proverbs, the Good News Bible. We've got Heat Wave by Richard Castle, Naked Heat by Richard Castle, Rogue Forces by Dale Brown, NYPD Red 4 by James Patterson, Three Sisters by Heather Morris, Excalibur by Bernard Cornwell, Dead Man's Footsteps by Peter James, Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, Small Island by Andrea Levitt, The Angel's Week by Wilbur Smith, Long Walk to Freedom by Nelson Mandela, Autobiography of Nelson Mandela, Keon Werner and Tom Fletcher's Eve of Man, Dead in Devon by Stephanie Austin, One Child by Tori Hayden, Maggie O'Farrell's Marriage Portrait, How to Draw Anything by Barrington Barber, Kidnapped by Robert Louis Stevenson. I think these are not new English. Yesterday. Birds in a Cage by Derek Nyman, The Bad Room by Jade Kelly, I Own You by Dawn McConnell, Please Don't Make Me Go by John Fenton, Jean M. O's The Shelter of Storm, Summer of Blood by Dan Jones, Billy Summers by Stephen King, The Fort by Bernard Cornwell, Lee Childs, Better Off Dead, A Dilemma by B.A. Paris, The Wild Silence by Raina Wynn, As I Lay Down to Sleep, As I Lay Me Down to Sleep by Elaine Murrow, No More Hurt by Ellen Prescott, Maya Angelins, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, American Dirt by Jan Cummins, Deborah Cummins and Justice There Is None, Susan Lewis's Never Say Goodbye, The Last Widow by Karen Slaughter, The Kingdom by Joan Esbo, 1356 by Bernard Cornwell, Wives and Daughters by Elizabeth Gaskin, Please Daddy No by Stuart Howard, Silent Sisters by Joanne Lee, Clive Cussler's Vixen Free, Lancashire Stories, Our Daily Bread, Tell Me You're Sorry Daddy by Carolyn Walker, An Innocent Baby by Kathy Glass, The Mistletoe Bride by Kate Moss, Wilbur Smith's Pharaoh, The Plains of Passage by Jean M. O, Broken by Shai Keenan, Killing Floor by Lee Child, Night School by Lee Child, The Flight by Julie Clark, Wizard of Once by Cressida Coyle, The Koitiki Expedition, Lee Child's Blue Moon, Voyage of the Sparrowhawk, Cato, The Guilt Trip, No Place to Hide by Susan Lewis, The Rachel Incident by Caroline O. Donahue, Middle School by James Patterson, The Honey Guide by Richard Compton, The Walking Fire by Anthony Ryan, Don't Tell Mummy by Tony McGuire, Fear of the Collar by Patrick Tew, Child C by Christopher Spry, Helpless by Marianne Marsh, Fallout by Sarah Peratsky, Thackeray by Vanity Fair by William Makepeace Thackeray, Little Fires Everywhere by Celestia Ng, Girl with Pearl Earrings by Tracy Chevalier, The Virgin Blue by Tracy Chevalier, and Fallen Angels by Tracy Chevalier, Clive Cussler's Night Probe, Clive Cussler's Pacific Vortex, Stephen King's The Institute, Black Tears by Karen Woods, The Book of Beginnings by Sally Page, Harlan Coben's The Stranger, The Truth About the Harry Kubert Affair by Joel Dicker, The Daily Struggles of Archie Adams by Katie Kirby, and Where's Waller's Research for the Lost Things by Martin Hanford. Most of them have got The Chrysalids by John Whedon, Bought and Sold by Megan Stevens, English Ghost Stories chosen by Michael Cox and R.A. Gilbert, Citadel of Shadows by Mike Jeffries, Safe Enough by Lee Child, and The Whistleblower by Robert Preston.
Just had some more stuff in. Walking the Irwell by Josh Braden, Debt of Honor by Tom Clancy, and Killing Moon by Joe Nesbo. A few more books in and really cool stuff, so let's quickly look through them. We've got When the Evil Waits by N.J. Lee, Lee Child Died Trying Harry Potter, Foster Storm by J.K. Rowling, Chaos by James Cleric, Never Go Back by Lee Child, Mark Connelly's Bloodwork, William Shakespeare's Macbeth, The Seven Pillars of Wisdom by T.E. Lawrence, Math Hysteria by Ian Stewart, Donna Leon's Trace Elements, Urson's Teeth, Warhammer, Donna Leon's So Shall You Reap and The Waters of Eternal Youth, Mark Connelly's The Overlook, Lost Light, Angel's Flight, The Concrete Blonde and A Darkness More Than Night, Garrison Keller's Happy to Be Here, Jesus' Audience by J. Duncan M. Derritt, Chords and Ciphers by John Maffin, The Inflationary Universe by Alan H. Guth, The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien, Maps and Diagrams, One Renegade Cell by Robert Weinberg, In the Search of the Double Helix by John Gribbin, The Six Wives of Henry VIII by Alison Weir, The Man Called Cash by Steve Turner, The Woodlanders by Thomas Hardy, The Last 3 Minutes by Paul Davies, The Mind of God by Paul Davies, Fire in the Mind by George Johnson, Scrooginger's Kittens by John Gribbin, The Arrow of Time by Peter Coveney and Roger Highfield, Posey Simmons' Cassandra Dark, Peaky Blinders by Order of the Peaky Blinders, and Conspiracy Theories by David Southwell and Graham Donald.
And we got some more new stuff in. We've got Kill the Angel by Sandro Daziere, The Light of Hell by Julia Clark, I Found My Tribe by Ruth Fitzmaurice. I don't think that's new in today actually, sorry. I'm not even here, sorry. Kill the Father by Sandro Daziere, Machines Like Me by Ian McEwan, We Need to Talk About Kevin by Linus Shriver, Never Go Back by Lee Child, The Hypnotist by Lars Kepler, The Visitor by Lee Child, Make Me by Lee Child, Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens, Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain, David Copperfield by Charles Dickens, Story Collection by Disney, The Establishment by Owen Jones, Out for Blood by Deborah Mason, The Contest by Karen Hamilton, By the Rivers of Babylon by Nelson DeMille, Do No Harm by Jack Jordan, The Time to Kill by Mason Cross, Get Even by Martina Cole, The Faithless by Martina Cole, Fractured by Karen Slaughter, Storm Tide by Wilbur Smith, No Mercy by Martina Cole, and Close by Martina Cole. Some more new stuff in at the bottom here. We've got The London Train by Tessa Hadley, When We Were Bad by Charlotte Mandelson, Forever and a Day by Anthony Horowitz, Strange Ways by Luke Lang, Cherry Harvest by Lucy Sanner, The Act of Revolution by Eric Hobsbawm, The Human Season by Louise Dean, Under an Open Sky by The Blackest Bird by Joel Rose, Russell Brand's Articles of Faith, The Joy of X by Stephen Strogat, The Universe in a Nutshell by Stephen Hawking, The Spy Book, and Science. Got Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre, The Co-Worker by Frida McFadden, Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerry Maniscalco, Nine Perfect Strangers by Leanne Moriarty, Moonflower Murders by Anthony Horowitz, Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett, Midnight Sun by Stephanie Meyers, Urban Legends by James Proud, Spellbound, edited by Jenny Edwards, Conspiracy Theories by Jamie King, In Spite of the Gods by Edward Luce, Tripwire by Lee Child, Grown Ups by Marion Keyes, Finding Stevie by Kathy Glass, Assassin's Creed Secret Crusade, and The Secret by Lee Child.
Hey guys, got some more books in new just now. We've got Wolf in Shadow by David Gemmell, Boris Starling's Vodka, Cervantes by Don Quixote, The Steel Kiss by Jeffrey Deaver, Tom Gates' Genius Ideas, mostly by Liz Pitchen, absolutely fantastic and a tiny bit lucky. And another Genius Ideas from Tom Gates series by Liz Pitchen. Am I Alone in Thinking? The Iliad by Homer. The Girl Who Fell from the Sky by Simon Moore. Kingdom of the Blind by Louise Penny. A Walk Across the Sun by Corden Addison. Rather Be the Devil by Ian Rankin. Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Minecraft The Crash by Tracy Baptiste. Ivanhoe by Sir Walter Scott. The Moonstone by Wilkie Collins. Duncton Quest by William Howard. In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. Camilla Lackberg's The Gilded Cage. Aftermath by Harold Janner. The Twins by Saskia Sarginson. The 21 Escapes of Lieutenant Alistair Cram by David M. Guss. David Mitchell's Dishonesty is the Second Best Policy. Voyager by Diana Gabaldon. And Dragon in Amber by Diana Gabaldon. Innocent Blood by P.D. James. Avengers Infinity War The Cosmic Quest. Penny Vincenzi Into Temptation. Michelangelo and the Pope's Ceiling by Ross King. David Attenborough's Life on Earth. Milkman by Anna Burns. Black and Blue by Ian Rankin. Fighting Dirty by Peter Harcellerode. A Glastonbury Romance by John Cowper Powys. Ravenheart by David Gemmell. Web of Dragons by Michael Hartman. More What If by Robert Cowley. Gates of Fire by Stephen Pressfield. Got all these Kathy Cassidy books: Marshmallow Sky, Sweet Honey, Ginger Snaps, Indigo Blue, Dizzy, Ginger Snaps, Driftwood, Angel Cake, Cocoa Caramel, Sunday Girl, Dizzy, Lucky Star, Trainers v Tiaras, and Scarlet. Got Susan Lewis's Don't Believe a Word, Poems of Adventures, The Cockhouse at Fellscraft, nice antique book. Kate Atkinson's Life After Life. Siege by Simon Koenig. Two Brothers by Ben Elton. Star of the Sea by Joseph O'Connor. Knowledge of Angels by Jill Patson Walsh. Dead Famous by Ben Elton. The Golden Treasury by Palgrave. Morby's My Washpot by Stephen Fry. Troubled Blood by Robert Galbraith. Testament of Youth by Vera Britton. Hymns Ancient and Modern Revised, another nice antique. His Last Bow by Doyle. A Series of Unfortunate Events. The Children of Gods and Fighting Men. Bring Up the Bodies by Hilary Mantel. Cliff Richard's biography by Steve Turner. Mark Billy Bingham, The Hard Way. The Dilbert Principle by Scott Adams. A God in Ruins by Kate Atkinson. The Good German by Joseph Cannon. Police by Joe Nesbo. Young Magicians by Nick Mohammed. And House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland.
The morning looking at Burnley, we've got Danielle Steele's Power Play, Invisible. Val McDermott's Past Lying. Susanna Gregis and Unholy Alliance. Simon Scarrow's Centurion and the Legion. Percy Jackson's The Lightning. Rabbit Hole by Mark Dillingham. Reservoir 13 by John McGregor. Countdown to Lockdown by Nick Foley. 6 Degrees of Stupidity by Greg Moody. Mick Jackson's The Underground Man. Chris Riddle's Otter Lion and the Yellow Cat. The Cloud Spotter's Guide by Gavin Preta-Pinney. World Guinness Book of Records 2024. Eastern USA, Lonely Planet, The Middle East by Bernard Lewis, Until We Shatter by Kate Dillon, Third Songs and Calls, Dog Diary Birthday by Lemon, Explaining the Unexplained by Trent Butler, Working with Earth Energies by David Furlong, Stop Them Dead by Peter James, Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid, East West North South by Gia Ludestad, South American Handbook by Clint, Percy Jackson's The Sea of Monsters, Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights, House of Games by Richard Osman, Hilary Mantel's Wolf Hall, Big Atlas of the World, To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee, Neville Shoots No Highways, The Checkerboard and In the Wet, Never Fade by Alexandra Bracken, Without a Trace by Danielle Steele, Fairy Tale by Danielle Steele, and The Wedding Planet by Danielle Steele. Another copy of In the Wet by Neville Shoots. Middle March by George Eliot. The Restless Kings by Nick Barrett. I think this is Winnie the Pooh. No, Winnie the Pooh book. Immigration and Refugees by Michael Clement. A Pocketbook of Berlin. What If Your Whole Life is Based on Lies by Tim Logan. Valencia and the Costa Blanca and Lonely Planet, and Cuba, a Rough Guide.
And a few more new books in. We've got The Birdcage by Eve Chase, The Binding by Bridget Collins, Kitty Neal's An Orphan's Hope, Julie Gregson's Jasmine Nights, The Librarian of Auschwitz, Nora Roberts' Dance Upon the Air, Nora Roberts' Stars of Fortune, Dinah Jeffries, Daughters of War, Dawn French's Oh Dear Soul. Hey guys, we've got some more new stuff in. Calvinism Pure and Mixed, A Defense of the Westminster Standards by W.J.T. Shedd. Kayla by Colin Walsh. Superstitions by D.R. McElroy. How the Body Works. Student Hacks by Dan Marshall. Don't Ever Tell by Kathy O'Byrne. Warning Signs by Stephen White. Angels and Demons by Dan Brown. I'm a Believer by Jessica Adams. The Summer Psychic by Jessica Adams. Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. Aftermath by Harold Jana, and The Boy Behind the Mask by Charlotte Booth.
And so we've got some more new stuff. We've got Swinging Down the Craze by Bobby Teal. Louise Penny's A Rule Against Murder. No Fixed Line by Dana Stabenow. Glass House by Louise Penny. The Missing One by Lucy Atkins. The Reckoning by John Grisham. I Could Be You by Sheila Coppola. Paul McCartney's biography by Philip Norman. Ian Rankin, Saints of the Shadow Bible. The Woman on the Edge by Ruth Mancini. I'll Stop Time by Matt Haig. All the Dark Places by Terry Harleto. And Remembering Grace, photograph by Howell Conant.
Here again at Halifax Bookshop. Gonna have a quick look at what we've got new in just now. First of all, we've got Calvinism Pure and Mixed, A Defense of Westminster Standards by W.G.T. Shedd. Sally Rooney's Beautiful World, Where Are You? Patricia Cornwell's Black Notice. Framed by John Grisham and Jim McCloskey. I Found You by Lisa Jewell. Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell. Grey Mountain by John Grisham of Pocket Encyclopedia of Painting and Drawing. Kidnapped by R.L. Stevenson. Escape Stories. It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. The Startled Wife by Tamima Ingham. The Lost Symbol by Dan Brown. When Rabbit Howls by The Truth for Trudy Chase. The End Minecraft book by Catherine W. Valentine. Britney Spears' The Woman in Me. British by Afura Hirsch. Ian Rankin Standing in Another Man's Grave. And Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil by John Berent. Hey guys, lots of new stuff. We've got Moscow X by David McCloskey. Essential Shakespeare Handbook. On the Run by Max Luther, The Joy of Sheds by Frank Hopkinson, King of Kings by Wilbur Smith, She's Come Undone by Wally Lamb, Predator by Wilbur Smith, Hungry as the Sea by Wilbur Smith, Tom Gates's Genius Ideas Mostly by Liz Kitchen, Do Not Say We Have Nothing by Madeline Feen, Still Life by Val McDermid, To Die For by David Baldacci, Dress Your Family in Corduroy and Denim by David Sedaris, Tortured Love by Michael Chatka, Illustrated Classics by Usborne, Dead If You Don't by Peter James, Lola Jane J by the time you read this, King's Mistress, Queen's Servant by Tracy Bowman, Harlan Coben's Live Wire, Lee Child's Personal, Trust No One by Alex Walters, Invasion by Frank Gardner, The Truth About the Harry Kubert Affair, 3 Hours by Rosamund Lupton, Camino Island by John Grisham, A Brief History of Seven Killings by Marlon James, The Couple in the Photo by Helen Cooper, Mile Higher by Rebecca Chance, Winter in Madrid by CJ Sampson, Kristen Hanna's Homefront, Pemberley by Emma Tennant, Wilbur Smith's The Quest, Find Them Dead by Peter James, A Winter Grave by Peter May, Rachel's Holiday by Marion Keyes, The Heron's Cry by Anne Cleves, More Sad, Spike Milligan's Box 18, The Oxford Book of English Verse, Martina Cole's Loyalty, Little Fires Everywhere by Slister Edgy, Martina Cole's The No, Winston Churchill's A History of the English-Speaking Peoples, Super Brain by Deepak Chopra, and a Phillips New World Atlas. Hey guys, some more new stuff in. We've got The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown, Peter Robinson's Not Safe After Dark, Cartooning for Beginners by Maddox, Pants on Fire by Maggie Alderson, Peter Robinson's Aftermath, The Brothers More Than There's Nothing More Than Awful on The Brothers Hawthorne by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, The Field of the Cloth of Gold by Magnus Mills, Paddy Ashdown's A Brilliant Little Operation, Murder Before Evensong by Richard Coles, Kid Normal The Final Five, A.J. Wright Elementary Murder, Peter Robinson's Playing with Fire, Little Doubt by Rachel Lynch, and The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Hey guys, back at Burnley, lots in new. We've got Against the Machine, Being Human in the Age of the Electronic Mob by Lee Siegel, got A Most Novel Revenge by Ashley Weaver, Firecracker by Sean Stewart, Alistair MacLean's San Andreas, Captivated by Nora Roberts, To Be the Best by Barbara Taylor Bradford, Tale for Two by Nora Roberts, Hold the Dream by Barbara Taylor Bradford, Assassin's Creed Revelations by Oliver Bowden, and The Obamas by Jodie Cantor. And we've got some more new stuff in. We've got Blood Ties by Joe Nesbo, Grey by E.L. James, The Intrusion by Charlotte Langley, Precipice by Robert Harris, Condemned by R.C. Bridgestock, The Midwife's Secret by Emily Gunnis, The Last Nazi by Andrew Turpin, Better Off Dead by Lee Child, and Dominion by C.J. Sampson. And we've got some more new stuff in. We've got Dominion by, I think that was already checked out this morning, but The Blood Price by John Evans, The Unheard by Nikki French, The Inmate by Frida McFadden, The Einstein Girl by Philip Sington, Auschwitz by Lawrence Rees, The Whisper Man by Alex North, The World's Religions by Ninian Smart, Lord of the Rings Part 2, Two Towers by J.R.R. Tolkien, A Series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket, Chronicles of Narnia, The Silver Chair, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, Prince Casabian, The Horse and His Boy, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, The Magician's Nephew. Death in a Lonely Place by Stieg Abel. Philippa Gregory's Wideacre. Close to Death by Anthony Horowitz. You Like It Darker by Stephen King. The Dry by Jane Harper. Did I Say That Out Loud by Fire Glover and Jane Garvey. Easy Way to Stop Smoking by Alan Carr, sorry. The Last Battle, Narnia. The 4-Hour Work Week by Timothy Ferris. One Day by David Nichols. 12 Rules for Life by Jordan B. Patterson. J.D. Robb's Conspiracy in Death and Holiday in Death. Jake Paul's You Gotta Want It. The Innocence of Father Brown by G.K. Chesterton. Sapphire by Matthews, I think. New Testament. Girl A by Abigail Dean. Common Prayer. Can Reindeer Fly by Roger Highfield. Laura Lippman's Sunburn. The Black Book of Secrets by Effie Higgins. Mummy Come Home by Oksana Kalemi. The Book of Mormon. Richard Osman's The Thursday Murder Club. Urban Grimshaw and the Shed Crew by Bernard Hare. Louise Allen's Sparkles Story. Crybaby by Mark Billingham. Their Little Secret by Mark Billingham. The Oxford Book of English Verse edited by Christopher Ricks. Oxford Book of English Short Stories by A.S. Batt. The Country Commonplace book by Miranda Mills. Mark Billingham's Love Like Blood. The Golden Thread by Casey St. Clair. V2 by Robert Harris. Dead at First Sight by Peter James. And A Dark So Deadly by Stuart McBride. Next we got The Cherry Harvest by Lucy Sanner. Water Fire Saga by Dark Tide by Jennifer Donnelly. New Moon by Stephanie Meyer. Cecilia Harehan's The Gift. The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. The Short Second Life of Brie Tanner by Stephanie Meyer. Blood Rivals, Vampire vs. Werewolf. Hot Chocolate for the Mystic Soul by Ariel Ford. Before We Met by Lucy Whitehouse. A Man Named Dave by Dave Peltzer. The Other Side of the Stars by Clemency Burton Hill. The Lost Boy by Dave Peltzer. And A Child Called It by Dave Peltzer. You guys like some more Moon stuff? We've got Blue Moon by Lee Child. Without Fail by Lee Child. Notes on a Murder by B.P. Walter. Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. Sophie Hannah's A Game for All the Family. Peacock's Dancing by Sharon Mass. Idol by Louise O'Neill. Diana Gabaldon's Drums of Autumn. The Housemaid's Secret by Frida McFadden. Savage Lane by Jason Starr. The Man Who Died Twice by Richard Osman. Mourn About Men by Juliana Foster. Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. No Plan B by Lee Child. The Coruscant Shadow by Clive Cussler. Better Off Dead by Lee Child. Personal by Lee Child. Harvest Man by Alex Gretchen. The People on Platform 5 by Claire Pooley. The Yard by Alex Gretchen. Ian Rankin's Rather Be the Devil. The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. Bloodman by Robert Hobby. Cracks in the Ceiling by John Powell. 50 Utterly Silly Stories. The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. Yesterday's Shadows by Rosie Goodwin. Die Trying by Lee Child. The Midnight Line by Lee Child. Persuader by Lee Child. Killing Floor by Lee Child. The Detainees by Sean Hughes.
Wranglestone by Darren Charlton. The Solace of Leaving Early by Haven Kimmel. Ali Smith's The Accidental, New York City Rough Guide. Nothing Short of Dying by Eric Story. Force of Nature by Jane Harper. The Trial by Rob Rindle. The Black Country by Alex Gresham. Big Mama by Billy Hopkin. An Accrington Miscellany. The Bullet That Missed by Richard Osman. Ghost Soldier by Clive Cussler. Was Going Dancing Till Midnight. Gone Tomorrow by Lee Child. In Too Deep by Lee Child. The Midnight Lamb by Lee Child. Mother's Ruin by Nicola Barry. The Last Devil to Die by Richard Osman. Tripwire by Lee Child. No Plan B by Lee Child. Nellie Dean. Nellie Dean, I don't have a clue. David Baldacci by Simple Little Eyes by David Baldacci. Killing Eve, Die For Me by Luke Jennings. Crime Scene Investigators by Jamie King. Stewart by Alexander Masters. The Ballerina of Auschwitz by Edith Eger. Lucas by Kevin Brooks. A History of the World by Andrew Marr. The Best of Adam Sharp by Graham Simsian. Olaf Stapledon's Star Maker. Flint by Paul Eddy. In Too Deep by Lee Child. Double Agent by Tom Brady. The Affair by Lee Child. 61 Hours by Lee Child. Fame is the Spur by Howard Spring. Silver Linings by Matthew Quick. Kate Atkinson's Shrines of Data. Whale-Born Theatre by Joanna Quinn. Winning at Life by Catherine Wallace. Absolutely Smashing It by Catherine Wallace. 12 Secrets by Robert Gold. Andy McNabb's Whatever It Takes. Rob Sinclair by Echoes of Guilt by Rob Sinclair. Tasmina Perry's Kiss Heaven Goodbye. Kim Harrison's Dead Witch Walking. For a Few Demons More by Kim Harrison. An Abundance of Catherines by John Green. The works of A. Houseman. Strumpet City by James Plunkett. A.J. Pierce, Yours Cheerfully. Daddy's Girls by Tasmina Perry. Ingenious Pain by Andrew Miller. Tasmina Perry's Private Lives and Guilty Pleasures.
We've got Great Ghost Stories by many authors. Rick Collins' Ghost Stories. The Earth by Anna Grayson. Dracula by Bram Stoker. End of Death by Nick Sanchez. Phoenix Brown by Joel Lane. Aqua Crystal next to No Time by James David. Eagle Yesterday. Forever Crystal. And Soul Spell by James David. Interpretation of Dreams by Freud. The Last One Part by Jeff Wynne. Country Tales by Jeffrey Chaucer. Spirit and Peace Disorders to Dallas Bauman. Derek Stories and the Psychic Stories. If Anyone Can Do Anything by David J. Newman. Witchcraft in Lancashire by Anaya. A Christian Girl Class Growing Up. Tales of the Dead by Bill Bonzini. Bag of Bones by Stephen King and Christine Bass.
Hey guys, some more new stuff in November. We got Nothing to Lose by Lee Child, Joanne Harris's Different Class, Rachel Lynch's Lying Ways, and Little Doubt. The Doomsday Prophecy by Scott Mariani, Star of the Sea by Joseph O'Connor, Sophie Hannah's Hurting Distance and The Point of Rescue, and The Winter Killings by Wes Markin. And some more new stuff in. We've got The Dolphins of Laurentum by Caroline Lawrence, Radical Reformation by Mark Driscoll, Little Woman by Louisa M. Alcott, Double Dope Diaries by Rachel Rennie Russell, Lola Rose by Jacqueline Wilson, The Worst Witch All at Sea by Jill Murphy. Roald Dahl, trilogy of books. Jacqueline Wilson's Best Friends and You Are Awesome journal by Matthew Sayed. And some more fresh in stuff. We've got Skeleton Key by Anthony Horowitz, Eagle Strike, Archangel by Anthony Horowitz, Home Wrecker by J.M. Dalglish, Observer's Book of Wild Animals, British Coastline by Ron Freefley. It's really nice. Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien, The Fellowship of the Ring, Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank, Artemis Fowl by Ian Colfer, Return of the King by J.R.R. Tolkien, Classic Poetry Collection, Artemis Fowl by Ian Colfer, The Eternity Code, Today, Tonight and Tomorrow by Rachel Lynn Solomon, The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest by Stieg Larsson, and The Girl Who Played with Fire by Stieg Larsson, The Lost Children by Mary McCracken, Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris, Shai Keenan's Broken, The Golden Hour by William Nicholson, The Arctic Incident from Artemis Fowl, Night Rise by Anthony Horowitz, Point Blank by Anthony Horowitz, Jurassic Park The Lost World by Michael Crichton, Lord of the Flies by William Golding, Red Dust by M.A. Gian, Why Is Snot Green by Glenn Murphy, Philip Arday's The Grunts All at Sea, Diary of a Wimpy Kid Dog Days by Jeff Kinley, Cosmic by Frank Cottrell Boyce, It's One Giant Leap for All Boykind, and Frank Cottrell Boyce's Millions, The Not So Great Train Robbery. Some more awesome stuff in. We've got Lord of the Flies by William Golding, Kate Moss's Sepulchre, Death Under a Little Sky by Stig Abel, Angel by L.J. Ross, Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid, Commandant of Auschwitz by Rudolph Oes, What a Time to Be Alone, The Sunflower's Guide to Why You Are Already Enough by Chid Egera, Max Kowalski's Didn't Mean It by Susie Day, Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, L.J. Ross's Heaven Field, Anthony Horowitz Eagle Strike, Pandora Sachs How Do We Know We're Doing It Right, Oliver Sacks The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat, Oliver Sacks Hallucinations, Stool Life by Elizabeth Leward, Spoiled by Anne Poulton, Religion for Atheists by Elaine D. Bottom, Diary of a Married Call Girl by Tracy Kwan, Cragside by L.J. Ross, Lost in Translation by Charlie Crocker, High Force by L.J. Ross, The Party by Elizabeth Day, In the Cold Dark Ground by Stuart McBride, Oliver Sacks' Awakenings, A Man Called Dave by Dave Peltzer, Stranger Things, Darkness on the Edge of Town by Adam Christopher, David Baldacci's Saving Faith, Ian Rankin's A Heart Full of Headstones, The Diary of Jack the Ripper, Naming Jack the Ripper by Russell Edwards, A Brief History of Album Covers, Heartstopper Volume 3 by Alice Osman, Heartstopper Volume 1 by Alice Osman, and Volume 2, J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings, illustrated by Alan Lee, absolutely awesome. The Granny's Book for the Grannies Who's Best at Everything, The Book of Idle Pleasures by Ed Dan Kieran and Tom Hodgkinson, Little Pants Judas Horse, got a little book of cannabis, a little book of ecstasy, a little book of cocaine, and a little book of heroin, Breaking Dawn by Stephanie Meyer, Doctor Who The Visual Dictionary updated and explained, and Doctor Who The Visual Dictionary, Doctor Who The Essential Guide, Rules of Life by Templar, Mike Gale's His and Hers, The Rules of Wealth by Templar. Mike Gale's Wish You Were Here and the Legendary Girlfriend. A Tiny Bit Lucky by Tom Gates. Something for the Weekend by Alan Coren. The 1,000-Year-Old Boy by Ross Welford. The Kid Who Came From Space by Ross Welford. The Beast of Buckingham Palace by David Walliams. And Codenamed Bananas by David Walliams. Story for This Every Season by Enid Blyton. Favourite Bedtime Stories. The Choice by Kerry Barnes, and these ones are absolutely awesome. They've got DC Comics, The Ultimate Character Guide. Got Avengers, Marvel. Got Avengers Ultimate Character Guide. Got the Iron Man book by Marvel. We've got Superman, Spider-Man, and Wolverine. Got Matt Gale's Mr. Commitment and Turning 30, and Headhunter by Michael Slade. And we've got some more new stuff in. We've got The Princess Bride by William Goldman. Colin Hoover's It Ends With Us. Linda LaPlante Tennyson. The Wanted by Robert Crace. Pen Pal by J.T. Geisinger. The Book of Spells by Pamela Ball. Talking with Psychopaths and Savages, Letters from Serial Killers by Christopher Berry D. The Well Beloved with The Pursuit of the Well Beloved by Thomas Hardy. Help Yourself by Dave Peltzer. And The Detective's Secret by Leslie Thompson. Hey guys, just realised that I started putting stuff away before checking, showing you guys what we got in. But I think a lot of it was like this Ben Miller and this Greg James and some of the bigger children. I can't remember exactly what we just got in, but yeah, I started putting them away without realising that I'd not gone through them all. But we'll go through what we've left out on the floor out there. So we've got The Last Supper by Rosemary Schrager, Ramses by Christian Jake, Letters from the Edge by multiple writers, The Chimp Paradox by Professor Steve Peters, My Animals and Other Family by Claire Balding, Simon Scarrow's The Eagle and the Wolves, Pandora by Susan Stokes, The Day of the Triffids by John Windman, The Choice by Kerry Barnes, and I think that was another the other. Yep. Hey guys, got Lars Kepler's The Spider, Deadline by Steph McGovern, Beautiful Death by Fiona McIntosh, Butter by Azeko Yuzuke, Roblox Annual 2025, The Blood Prince by John Evans, Remain Silent by Susie Steiner, How to Capture an Invisible Cat by Paul Tobin, Diary of a Wimpy Kid Dog Days, The Ugly Truth, just Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Third Wheel, and The Last Straw by Jeff Kinley, Anna Todd's Nothing More, Good Spirits by B.K. Borison, and The Gallows Pole by Benjamin Myers.
Lots of new stuff in at the front here. We've got The Road to Wellville by T. Cora Gesson Well. Their Name Is Today by Joanne Christopher Arnold. The Moses Legacy by Adam Palmer. The Extinction Trials Rebel by S. U. Wilson. To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Luce. Into the Fighter by M.J. Arlich. The Problem with Forever by Jennifer L. Armentrout. Sober Stick Figure by Amber Tozer. Trust Me by T.M. Logan. The Darwin Awards Countdown to Extinction by Wendy Norfolk. Bletchley Park Brain Teasers by Sinclair McKay. I'm Awesome by Gareth Nix. In the Ruins by Kate Elliott. The Red Breast by Joe Nesbo. Linda Fairstein's Bad Blood. Tori Hayden's Tiger's Child. Anne Cleeve's The Claw Trap. The Interpretation of Murder by Jed Rubenfeld. Mommy Doesn't Love You by Alexander Sinclair. Anne Cleeve's Arbor Street. Restore Me by Teheri Mafe, Kate Atkinson's Big Sky, Orpheus Rising by Bateman, Obsession by Amanda Robson, Extra Virgin by Annie Hose, David Eddings, Oliver, The Sorceress, 9 Inches by Bateman, 7 Days by Alex Lake, Tales of the Dead by Bronzina, Hush Hush by Becca Fitzpatrick, Charles Dickinson's Hard Times, Conspiracy by Ian Sherco, Agnes Gray's Anna Bronx, Anna Bronx, Agnes Gray, Colin Bateman's Murphy's Revenge, The Mirror Cracks from the Side to Side by Agatha Christie, Woke Britain, Rambler's book, The Whaleborn Theatre by John Quinn, The Wolf Den by Elodie Harper, Ink Spell by Cornelius Funk, Philip Kerr's Prag Patel, Kathy Bass's Girl Alone, The Scent of Magic by Cliff McNish, The Last Coin by James P. Blakelock, Reasons to Stay Alive by Matt Haig, Just Another Kid by Tori Hayden, Somebody Else's Kids by Tori Hayden, The Devil You Don't Know by Zuhairi Al-Jazari, Persuasion by Jane Austen, A Stolen Life by J.C. Dugard, An Angel Saved My Life by Jackie Newcomb, And Your Heart's a Girl with Two Lives, One Night Markovich by Ayelet Gundar Goshen, The Fall by Ellie Keel, and The Two Girls by Trudy Canavan, C.J. Sampson's Lamentation and Tombland, Canada, Lonely Planet, The Repair Shop, Devil's Bargain by Rachel Keane, Lion Weights by G.J. Minette, Tom Clancy's Against All Enemies, Bulgaria, Lonely Planet, Little Sister by Isabel Ashdown, Terry Pratchett and Stephen Baxter's The Long War, HTML book, Jakar Moon's Treasures, Conversations with God Book 3, Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan, True Story by Kate Reed Petty, Clive Barker's Great Secrets, Sure Beyond Belief by Coleman, Stephen Leather's Last Man Standing, Kate Atkinson's A God in Ruin, Divided Lives by Lyndall Gordon, Alex Neptune's Monster Avenger, The Unknown Warrior by John Nichol, Eligible by Curtis Sittenfield, Stormbreaker by Anthony Horowitz, Two for Sorrow by Nicola Hudson, The Maze Runner by James Dashner, Alien Force by Teresa Vesselin, The Queen's Choice by Anne O'Brien, Penny Vincenzi's A Question of Trust, Corpus by Rory Clement, The Flash Forward by Robert J. Sawyer, Head of State by Andrew Moore, The Intruder by Freeman McFadden, The Man Made of Smoke by Alex North, The Fairfax Way by David Thomas, No Trace by Michael Trent, and I think these are in new today, Anthony Horowitz.
A few more bits of new stuff. We've got New English Bible, New Testament, To the Bright Edge of the World by Eowyn Irving, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, Phones of a Black Rose by David Craig, Full Dark No Stars by Stephen King, Thief by Mallory Blackman, Good News Bible, Nora Roberts' Rising Tides, The Bullet That Missed by Richard Osman, and Northanger Abbey Persuasion and Emma by Jane Austen.
Hey guys, lots of new stuff. We've got Medical Dictionary, When God Was a Rabbit by Sarah Winman, Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Parner, Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen, The Birdcage Library by Ray and Berry. The Three Climbers Guide by Frank Cook. Three Women by Lisa Tadeo. Natural Born Heroes by Christopher McDougall. To the Hills by Dick Francis. And Shepherd by Dick Francis. Man and Wife by Tony Parsons. Twilight by Stephanie Meyer. The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. The No by Martina Cole. Of Dawn Brightside, The Extraordinary Hope of Dawn Brightside by Jessica Lynn. Six of Crows by Lee Bardugo. The Paris Library by Janet Gliswin Charles. The Memory Keeper's Daughter by Kim Edwards. Elizabeth is Missing by Emma Dealer. Peter Mayle, A Year in Providence. The Prisoner's Throne by Holly Black. Yorkshire Shepherdess by Amanda Owen. David Jason's A Tale of a Life. The Killing Habit by Mark Billingham. Long Shot by Dick Francis. KJV Holy Bible. Under the Lemon Tree by Emma Cole. Snuff by Terry Pratchett. The Favourite Book of Beasts edited by Paul Muldoon. The Kellerby Chord by Johnny Sweet. Mistress of Grey Ladies by Anna Jacob. The Yorkshire Shepherdess by Amanda Owen. And Brother Cadafale's Omnibus by Alice. Halifax is not in writing. Glory. By Terry. Felix Everard by Calendar. Many Mansions by Harvey Cox. Jack Primrose Mill. The Twilight Saga, the official illustrated guide by also stories by Rick Old, The Fire Pit, Sydney Sheldon, Stars Shine Down. Lose You to Find Me by Eric J. Brown. The Mary by Neil. Sorry. I got all that Olivia. I'm a normal yet by Hong Kong. The Big League by Victoria. And She's Black.
Here we have The Devil Wears Prada by Lauren Weisenberger. The Bee Sting by Paul Murray. Winston's War by Michael Dobbs. The 100 by Cass Morgan. Arctic Convoys by David Kenyon. Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race by Rennie Edo Lodge. Nazis by Lauren Reese. Maybe I Don't Belong Here by David Harewood. SES Shadow Raiders by Damian Lewis. And Small Great Things by Jodie. Hey guys, got some more new stuff in with Alex Ferguson's Leading. Modern Buddhism, A Path of Compassion and Wisdom by Geshe Kelsang Gyatso. Sir Alex Ferguson. Pep Guardiola by Julian Balaguer. And Pep Confidential by Marty Perronneau. Hey guys, tons more new stuff in from here. We've got Robert Jordan's New Spring and The Gathering Storm by Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson. Excuse me. Winter's Heart by Robert Jordan. The Cleaner by Paul Cleave. Vagabond by Bernard Cornwell. Good News Bible, The Woman in the Woods by M.K. Hill. Good News Bible, Book of Life by Deborah Harkness and Shadow of Night by Deborah Harkness. The Big Bad Wolf by James Patterson. Got the Bible. Clive Cussler's The Eye of Heaven. Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson's A Memory of Light. Bernard Cornwell's Harlequin. Raymond E. Feist's Mistress of the Empire and Janny Wirtz, Sharp's Fury by Bernard Cornwell, The Odyssey by Homer, Professor Green's Lucky, The Pale Horseman by Robert Cornwell, The Burning Land by Robert Cornwell, Enemy of God by Robert Cornwell, A Ship of War by Sean Thomas Russell, Bernard Cornwell's Sword Song and Azincourt, Raymond E. Feist's Wrath of God, The Temple Mount Cord by Charles Brokaw, Runaway by Harlan Coben, Quantum Questions by Ken Wilber, Keep Calm and Carry On, another Bible, Mark Billingham's In the Dark, Heroes of the Sky by Michael Ashcroft, Child 44 by Tom Robert Smith, Boris, The Making of the Prime Minister by Andrew Gimson, Ed Sheeran by David Nolan, Clive Cussler's Havana Storm, Golden Years of Burnley, Robert Jordan's The Shadow Rising, Bernard Cornwell's Sharp's Enemy, David Gimmel's Legend, Bernard Cornwell's The Last Kingdom, and Sharp's Tiger, and Sharp's Havoc, Wicked by Gregory Maguire, Sharp's Honour by Bernard Cornwell, Anagram Finder by Bloomsbury, The Affair by Lee Child, Bible with Apocrypha, English Bible with Apocrypha, Stories from the Bible by Walter D. LeMay, Elsie Silver's Flawless, Obsessed by Lisa North, Postcard Killers by James Patterson, London Bridges by James Patterson, The Iliad by Homer, Red Square by Martin Cruz Smith, The Born Objective by Robert Ludlum, Slavery and Race by Henry Marsh, Raymond E. Feist and Jenny Wirtz, Servant of the Empire, Boris Starling's Messiah, The Living Bible, British edition, Le Saint Bible, I think it's a French Bible, A Spy Among Friends by Ben McIntyre, Management of Biblical Approach by Myron Rush, The Doomsday Book Complete Translation, massive big book, absolutely epic. What an epic book to have here. David Baldacci's One Good Deed and Long Shadows, Mark Billingham's Bloodline, The Driftwood Girls by Mark Douglas Home, A Good News Bible, The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins, Essential Help for Your Nerves, Alternative Service Book 1980, Frida McFadden's The Crash, The Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness, George R.R. Martin's Game of Thrones, Robert Jordan's The Fires of Heaven, The Stars, My Blanket by Beryl Miles, George R.R. Martin's Storm of Swords, Steel and Snow, another nice, really nice holyback. It's like late 1800s, early 1850s. That's a really nice Bible. Awesome. Bible Promises, 1 year, 365 stories. The Keeper of Lost Things by Ruth Hogan, another English Bible. Illustrated Holy Bible. Barking Mad by Lee Russell, another Holy Bible English Standard Edition. Witness by Eddie Lyle and Nick Page. Black Sheep by Sabrina Pace Humphrey. Tribe of Mentors by Timothy Ferries. Clash of Kings, George R.R. Martin. Another Illustrated Holy Bible. A New English Bible. Star Wars Aftermath, Afterlife, Death. The Snowman by Joe Nesbo, The Silent Patient by Alice McChilders, First Bible Stories, Business Quotations, Orphan X by Greg Hurwitz, Numerous Quotations, and A Piece of Cake by Cupcake Brown. Holy Lord, guys. Oh, absolutely exhausted. God, they walk, people. They're looking good inside. Absolutely packed out everywhere you can imagine. Wow. Sophie Hanna's The Carrier, Tony Parsons' The Family Way, Dan Brown's The Vinci Code, My Life in Dire Straits by John Ilse,
Ilsley. Fractured by Ruth D. The Bodies Left Behind by Jeffrey Deaver. Daddy's Princess by Alice Lawrence with Megan Lloyd Davis, and Paul Theroux's The Kingdom by the Sea.
Hey guys, what's some new stuff? We've got Alter Egos by Mark Landler. Dave Baldacci's The 620 Man. Butterfly Room by Lucinda Riley. The Lords of the Desert by James Barr. Canterbury Tales by Jeffrey Chaucer. The Decameron by Giovanni Boccaccio. Tigana by Guy Gabriel Kay. It's awesome cover. Sorry, I'm just looking at the book. Naomi Klein's This Changes Everything. Pirate Princess by Jane Austen. Not Dead Yet by Peter James. Life at the Landings by P.G. Woodhouse. The Labyrinth of Osiris by Paul Sussman. My Story Riding Waves by Jane MacDonald. Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. Now Ferguson's Empire. Dean Koontz' Shattered. Simon Scarrow's The Eagle's Conquest. Death in the Jardin by Ian Moore. Whistleblower by Tess Gerritsen. And Judith Kellerman's The House on the Hill. We got some more new stuff in. We've got David Gimmel's The King Beyond the Gate. Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. Pamela Hartsbourne's The Edge of Dark. The Body in the Ice by A.J. Mackenzie. Bomber's Moon by Iris Gold. Terry Brooks' The Dark Legacy of Shannara. The Elves of Sintra by Terry Brooks. And Armageddon's Children, Genesis of Shannara. Paris Architect by Charles Belfour. Legends of Shannara, The Measure of the Magic. Imogen Robertson's Island of Bournes. The Old Ways by Robert McFarlane. Bono's book. And M.W. Craven's The Botanist.
Hey guys, in our books we've got Horrible Science's Annual 2016, Girl Online on Tour by Zoe Suk, Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Graham, Winkle by Paul Beaver, The Language of Kindness, a nurse's story by Christy Watson, and Killing the Shadows by Val McDermid. We've got some more new stuff in. We've got Pillow Forts by Courtney Pepernell, I Know Where She Is by S.B. Caves, The Last Don by Mario Puzo, The Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith, Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman, It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, and November 9 by Colleen Hoover, The Housemaid by Frida McFadden, Do Not Disturb by Frida McFadden, Seven Sisters by Lucinda Riley, Death of Kings by Bernard Cornwell, Under Enemy Colours by Sean Thomas Russell, The Rising Tide by Ian Cleves, Robert Jordan's Crossroads of Twilight, Bernard Cornwell's Heretic, School for Good and Evil, The Last Ever After by Soman Chinane, and Quest for Glory by Soman Chinane, Awkward to Awesome by Mia Fizz, The Image of You by Adele Parks, The Immortalist by Chloe Benjamin, Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins, works of W.B. Yeats, Lords of the North by Bernard Cornwell, Robert Jordan's Path of Daggers, On the Run by Max Luther, Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins, The Binding by Bridget Collins, Call Me By Your Name by Andre Acerman, Better by Tiffany McDaniel, I'm Unbothered, the Catherine Yates show scripts, Mario Puzo's The Godfather, Hopeless by Colleen Hoover, and School for Good and Evil by Simon Chiane. And some more stuff in it. Tana French's In the Woods, Will Smith's The New Kingdom, The Woman in the Library by Sulari Gentle, Testament of Youth by Vera Britton, and Alexander McCall Smith's Sunday Philosophy Club, and Number One Ladies Detective Agency. Hey guys, got lots of new stuff in here at the front. We've got Alexander McCall Smith's In the Company of Cheerful Ladies, Dead Man's Time by Peter James, Your Neighbour's Wife by Tony Parsons, V2 by Robert Harris, The Challenge of a King by K.M. Ashman, Vince Flynn, The Survivor, City of Windows by Robert Povey, Tom Clancy's Defence Protocol, Dead If You Don't by Peter James, Dion Mayer's Trackers, Harlan Coben's The Match, The 10th Insight by James Redfield, Great British Railway Journeys, Mark Billingham's The Wrong Hands, Peter Kerr's The One from the Other, Freya North's Chances, Codename Forced by Gustav Skodeman, John le Carre's Agent Running the Field, The Manchester Man by Mrs. G. Linnaeus Banks, Exiles by Jane Harper, Tana French's The Trespasser, Patricia Bosworth is Harlan Brando, Parallel Worlds by Michio Kaku, that's epic, Ghost for Christmas by Richard Dalby, Viking Kingsman by Tim Severin, The Conan Doyle Stories by Arthur Conan Doyle, Experience the Blessing by John Arnott, Intelligent Life in the Universe by I.S. Shilovsky and Carl Sagan, Supernatural Omnibus by Montague Summers, Physics Impossible by Michio Kaku, All the Lonely People by Mike Gale, Watch for Elephants by Sarah Ruin, Spinning Jenny by Ruth Hamilton, The Bondage Breaker by Dr. Neil T. Anderson, The Daily Service Prayer Book compiled by Lavina Byron, Uncanny Stories by Mason Sinclair, Hyperspace by Michio Kaku, The Secret of Shambhala by James Redfield, Your People Shall Be My People by Don Fintor, The 12th Insight by James Redfield, Signs in the Sky by Adrian Gilbert, The Command of the Ocean by Nam Roger, On the Marsh by Simon Barnes, Leonardo da Vinci's Renaissance Man, Ringing the Changes by Robert Silverberg, Black Rabbit Hole by Eve Chase, Into the Light, a Bible Society book, Into the Crooked Place by Alexander Christo, The Witch Hunt in Early Modern Europe by Brian P. Levac, Israel's New Disciples by Julia Fisher, You Can Heal Yourself by Zeka Nikolic, The Alternative Service book, Smart Retail by Richard Hammond, Sacred Circles by Robin Dean, Townley Hall, The Dalai Lama, The Time Traveller's Guide to Medieval England by Ian Mortimer, Ben Elton's Inconceivable History of a Drowning Boy by Dennis Nilsson, The Red Queen by Philippa Gregory, The Kingmaker's Daughter by Philippa Gregory, Harry Turtledove's Colonization Second Contact, Are We Nearly There Yet by Ben Hatch, Philippa Gregory's The White Princess, The Fine Print by Lauren Asher, Dumpling by Julie Murphy, and Pudding by Julie Murphy. And we've got some more new stuff in at the front. So we've got I Can Plan an Adventure to Space by Katherine Johnson, Llama Rama by Ewan Ramshorn, Sloth's Life by Forrest Greenwood, If Cats Could Talk, The Meaning of Meow, Dan Brown's Inferno, Legend Born by Tracy Dion, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins, Eruption by Michael Crichton and James Patterson. But these are childcare textbooks, Children and Young People's Workforce, Teaching Assistants Handbook, Your Preschooler's Bible, Children and Young People's Workforce, and Supporting Teaching and Learning in Schools, Jigsaw book. Oh wow, awesome. Jigsaw Fairy, Forest Fairies, 150 Fairy Stories. The Crossbow Cannibal by Cyril Dixon. The Secrets Rescuers, The Sky Unicorn. Katie by Jacqueline Wilson. Vicky Angel by Jacqueline Wilson. The Salt Path by Raina Wynn. My Sister Jodie by Jacqueline Wilson. Fortune Cookie by Kathy Cassidy. Why Don't Penguins Feet Freeze by New Scientist. Dust by Patricia Cornwell. Flesh and Blood by Patricia Cornwell. W is for Wasted. In fact, I think I went through these on Friday, didn't I? Yep, so them ones are new. And there's a few more new stuff. These ones are a bit missed up. I just haven't been on the shelves.
You guys got quite a lot of new stuff in. We've got Sugar Baby by Celine St. Clair. 20 Years Later by Charlie Donlea. The Subtle Knife by Philip Pullman. The Language of the Dreams by Steve Jones. Lewis Man by Peter James. The Runner by Stephen Lever. The Glass Room by Anne Cleves. Hidden Girl by Lucinda Riley. Sue Grafton's W is for Wasted. Patricia Cornwell's Flesh and Blood. Dust by Patricia Cornwell and Port Mortuary. Cockroaches by Joe Nesbo. Sabrina, Season of the Witch by Sarah Reese Brennan. Solitaire by Alice Osman. The Stolen Ones by Vanessa Curtis. Born Bed by Patricia Cornwell. Peter May's Chinese Whispers. He writes Bare Bones. The Periodic Kingdom by Peter Atkins. The Origin of the Universe by John D. Barrow. The Last 3 Minutes by Paul Davies. The Origin of Human Time by Richard Leake. The Fatal Voyage by Kathy Wright. And Bones of Forever by Kathy Wright. Deadly Decision by Kathy Wright. 206 Bones by Kathy Wright. The Sharpetter Factor by Patricia Cornwell. The Runner by Peter May. In a House of Lies by Ian Rankin. The Amber Spyglass by Philip Pullman. Black Notice by Patricia Cornwell. The Stranger Next Door by Adam Southwood. Lily Allen's My Thoughts Exactly. Ugly Love by Colin Hoover. Lewis Man by Peter James. Snakehead by Peter May. Red Mist by Patricia Cornwell. Fourth Sacrifice by Peter May. The Killing Room by Peter May. Starts With Us by Colin Hoover. The Ascent of Man by Jay Bronowski. Paper Princess by Erin Watt. From the Embers by Ali Martinez. Orphan Monster by Max Killeen. Spiderborn by Kathy Wright. Bones of the Lost by Kathy Wright. White Knights by Anne Cleves. Come to Find You by James Corey. One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. Anatomy of a Scandal by Sarah Vaughan. Calling With All Your Perfects. Confess by Colin Hoover. And Bride by Ali Hazelwood.
Hey guys, we've got lots of new stuff here at the front. Again, we've got Morality for Beautiful Girls by Alexander McCall Smith. Proud by Juno Dawson, or compiled by Juno Dawson, I think. The Actual Star by Monica Bryan. Pocket Full of Holes and Dreams by Jeff Pierce. The Wind and the Willows by Kenneth Graham. Teaching Assistants Handbook Level 3. I think we looked through these ones yesterday actually, sorry guys. It's lacking. Albert House by Juicy Alder Olsen. Messe, I think we looked through some of these yesterday. These ones are definitely new. Invasion by Frank Gardner. The 7 Days of Peter Crumb by Johnny Glynn. Vampire Diaries by L.J. Smith. Walking Dead by Gerald Seymour. Winter in Madrid by C.J. Sampson. The Edge of Always. Plain Bad Heroines by Emily D. Danford. The Colour Purple by Alice Walker. The Sun Is Also a Star by Nicola Yoon. Mam Darling by Craig Brown. No Picnic on Mount Kenya by Phyllis Benuzzi. Mishling by Affinity Corner. You Had Me at Hello by Mahari McFarlane. The Universe by Andrew Cohen and Brian Cox. Alchemist Cat by Robin Jarvis. Alan Turing's The Enigma. Some of these might be new, but I'm not sure, so we're going to leave them for now. Mothlanders, Daniel Defoe. The Rules of Magic by Annie Dalton. Dark Horses by Susan Mihalik. We Begin at the End by Chris Whitaker. Cruel as the Grave by Sharon Penman. Out of the Ark by Rhoda G. Caswell. Alexander McCall Smith's In the Company of Cheerful Ladies. The Floor is Lava by Evan Brett. Richard Dawkins' The Greatest Show on Earth. James Blunt's How to Be a Complete and Utter Blunt. Zadie Smith's White Teeth. Shakespeare Illustrated 37 Plays and Poems. American School System, The Death and Life of the Great American School System by Diane Ravitch. Super Awkward by Beth Garrett. Access All Awkward by Beth Garrett. It's got some of these more adult books. The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. Miniaturist by Jesse Burton. An English Affair by Richard Davenport Hines. That Will Never Work by Mark Randolph. The Spectacular Now by Tim Tharp. Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close by Jonathan Safran Foer. Collected Poems by Philip Larkin. Light It Up by Nick Petrie. Cold Mountain by Charles Fraser. What's Left by Nick Cohen. So Agent and Churchill's Favourite Spy by Madeline Mason. The Reason for God, Belief in an Age of Skepticism by Timothy Keller. The Secret of the Cathars by Michael Hillier. White Devils by Paul Macaulay. David Lee Ross, Crazy from the Heat. Stay Sweet by Sayab and Vivian. A Very Large Expanse of Sea by Tim Hari Maffei. Bug's Life. The Hobbit. This Winter by Alice Osman. Keelty Erickson's The Hand That Trembles. The Holy Blood and Holy Grail. Pharaoh by Valeriano Massimo Manfredi. Jonathan C. Lennox, Friend of God. A Million Words Without You by Claudia Gray. Vert by Jeff Moon. Surviving Execution by Ian Woods. Truth About the Harry Kubert Affair, Bella DeJour. How to Catch the Sun. Katie Kurtz's Snowball's Chance in Hell, Come Hell or High Water, and A Death Most Monumental. James Oswald's The Hangman's Song. Stuart McBride's The House of Burning Stones. 316 by Max Lucado. The Inn at the Top by Neil Hansen. Modesty Blaze. Blase by Peter O'Donnell. The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Night School by Lee Child. The Dagger and the Flame by Catherine Doyle. Secret by Lee Child. Need to Know by Karen Cleveland. The Keeper of Lost Things by Ruth Hogan. In Too Deep by Lee Child. The Midnight Lamb by Lee Child. M.W. Craven, Black Summer. The Night Manager by John le Carre. Georgette Hayes' Bath Tangle. Daughters of Britain, The Lives and Times of Diplomatic Wives by Katie Hickman. Guardian by James Clavell. Can You Solve the Murder by Anthony Johnston. Loki by Lewis Stowell. Othello by William Shakespeare. Heartstopper Part 1 by Alice Osman. Lightning Girl by Alicia Dixon. Robin Cook's Vector Contagion. The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. Do Polar Bears Get Lonely? New Scientist book. Shakespeare by Ivor Brown. The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary. The Silmarillion by J.R.R. Tolkien. Best Kept Secret by Jeffrey Archer. Ian M. Banks's The State of the Art. Sons of Fortune by Jeffrey Archer, and The Cleaner by Mark Dawson. And there's probably a lot more that we just got a bit mixed up there. And there's a lot of these Bibles new in as well.
Another massive big lot of stuff in. We've got books, Book of Count Fans, a book Captain Custom, The Teacher's Girl, Frankie Jews by Pierce Woodhouse, Alexander McCall finished to the company of cheerful ladies. Only Love Can Hurt Like This by page 2. The Orphans on the Train by Jill Thompson. The Break by Marion Keyes. This Mitchell, the Mitchell and Webb book. And Mitchell, this Mitchell and Webb book. Carry On Age by P.S. Woodhouse. Let's Draw Monsters, Ghosts and Demons. Starry Skies in Fairy Lane Market by Michelle and May. Atlas of Stars and Planets. Elementary and Periodic Table Explained. A Day at the Beach book by Veronica Henry. Instant Mathematics. Ellis Peters, The Sixth Gospel Omnibus. Rising to the Occasion by Linda Taylor. The New Tony Skies by Kate Ryder. Mad About the Boy by Maggie Alderson. Eve Green by Susan Fletcher. Bart's Guide to Life. Disgusting Digestion by Horrible Science. The List of Suspicious Things by Jenny Godfrey. Thoughtless by S.C. Stevens. Return of the Grand Theory in the Human Sciences by edited by Quentin Smith. Eclipse by Stephanie Meyer. Complete History of World War II. Apple Collided by Anne Todd. Insanely Simple, The Obsession That Drives Apple's Success by Ken Siegel. Diary of a Cat, Student School by Grace Brent. Kitty Neal's A Wife's Courage. Pictures September. Tom Clancy's Executive Orders. Better on a Summer's Day by Francis Brody. Stephanie Meyer's New Moon. The Jewel of St. Petersburg by Kate Furnival. Self-Help for Your Nerves by Dr. Claire Week. The Boy Who Grew Dragons by Andy Shepherd. Imitable Eve by Felix Woodhouse. Staggering Town, Hilarious Tales of Manticore by Phil Smith. Reading, Writing and Songs with Gold Rewards for Good. Dangerous Picture Boys by Con Ingleton. Where's Wally the Wonder Book by Martin Humphrey and Where's Wally the Great Picture by Martin Humphrey. Chef and Poisson by Ian Moore. Susan Lewis is Missing. After We Fell by Anne Todd. After by Anne Todd. Born for You by Adele Parks. 10 Things I Hate About Me by George Tracy. The Midnight Hour by Ellie Griffiths. Childhood Interrupted by Kathleen O'Malley. Haunted Minnesota. Ghostly Taste and Spiritual Story by U.E. Bishop. Thomas Hardy's Under the Green Tree. Julie Harris, The Shadowy Bird. Scent of the Night by Andrea Camilleri. Chemicals More Dynamic by G.A.V. Young Butler. We'll Meet Again by Lily Baxter. Then Elton and the Third Pageant. Roald Dahl's Matilda. Autumn Rose by Abigail Dix. It's really awesome. Hunger Games box set. Hunger Games, Mockingjay and Catching Fire. And also awesome. Lord of the Rings box set. Got Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, and Return of the King by J.R.R. Tolkien. Breaking Dawn by Stephanie Meyer. You Can Heal Your Life by Luke Hay. Psychometric Test by Mark Parkinson. Mindfulness for Busy People by Dr. Michael Sinclair and Joseph Stable. You Can Be an Optimist by Lucy McDonald. Unit Book of Science. The Tales of Eagle the Bard by J.K. Rowling. David Nichols' Voice. Being Stay Alive by Matt Wade, S.C. Stevens, Thoughtful, Science Needs Stay, edited by Fraser Watts, Being a Dentist by David Williams, A Beautiful Wedding by Jamie Maguire, Truth About the Harry Freebert Affair by Joel Pickler, Discerning Spirit by Steve J. Florence, Fossil Field and the War Music by A.L. Rose, The Maid by Lindsay Roy, Solomon's Power Broken, Robert Ludlum's The Sigma Protocol, The Paris Full Mosaic, The Road to Omaha, The Gemini Contenders, and The Icarus Winter. The Change by Kirsten Miller, God, The Big Bang, and Stephen Hawking by David Wilkinson, An Exploration into Origin, Beats, Change Your Brain, Change Your Life by Dr. Daniel G. Emma, Britain's Most Amazing Places, Silent Nation by Alex McLeod, Stephanie May's Twilight, Seeking Peace by Jonathan Christoph Arnold, The Generalship of Alexander the Great by James C. Fuller, his annual WWE Wrestling Annuals 2020 and 2022, and Roblox Annual 2025, Secret Child by Gordon Lewis and Andy Cross, One Million by Jill Simmons, Everything Is in You by C.L. Taylor, Baghdad by David Williams, Dead of Night by Sarah Michelle, The Therapist by David R. Harris, In the Darkest, You Breath Away, Away in the Manger by Jose Spin, Commentary on the Gospel according to St. Matthew by Floyd B. Pilson, Stephen Lewis is not coming back, Haven't They Grown by Sophie Hannah, Frank McCord and Gilles Ashes, Thanks to God by David Lyons, Bodies by Stephen Fallback, Metamagical Themes, for the essence of mind and passion, and the lead child by the Comfortable, and the prophetic imagination by Walter Brueggemann.
And some more new stuff in. We've got these War of the Dwarves by Marcus Heeks, The Fate of the Dwarves, The Triumph of the Dwarves, and The Revenge of the Dwarves. But fresh from the Word 2025, David Williams, Ratburger and Gangster Granny and Mr. Stink, Demon Dentist and The Midnight Gang. World of Gnome by Jonathan Meares, Goblet of Fire, Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling, Head Kick by David Baddiel, Jacqueline Wilson's The Illustrated Mum, Unnatural Causes by Dr. Richard Shepherd, Various Pets, Alive and Dead by Marina Luenka, Fatherland by Robert Harris, Strange Fits of Passion by Anita Shreve, Labyrinth by Kate Mosse, Cloth Girl by Marilyn Howard Mills, Broccoli, The Astounding Broccoli Boy by Frank Cottrell Boyce, and Travis by Mia Sheridan. We've got a few more in. We've got Mud Puddle Farm by Michael Morpurgo, Beautiful Death by Fiona McIntosh, Are You Dave Gorman by Dave Gorman and Danny Wallace, True North by Gavin Francis, and The Last Pope by John Hogue. And some more new stuff in. We've got My So-Called Bollywood Life by Nisha Sharma, Mind the Trams by Gabriella Undinse, The Silver Linings by Matthew Quick, Little Dribbling by Bill Bryson, Mohader's Wolf, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, The Lost Saint by Brie Despain, Twilight by Stephanie Meyer, Lost Girls by Angela Marsons, Dorothy Sayers' Gaudy Night, The Black Book of Secrets by Effie Higgins, The Lost Hours by Susan Lewis, Black and Blue by Ian Rankin, Alone with God by John MacArthur, Cast Away by Mark McCrum, John Grisham's The Last Juror, The Year of the Locust by Terry Hayes, Diary of a Wimpy Kid's Dog Days, Anne of the Island by Ellen Montgomery, Anne of Ingleside, Vila of Ingleside, Anne of Green Gables, Anne of Avonalia, Anne of Windy Poplars, Anne's House of Dreams, and Rainbow Valley by Ellen Montgomery. Got these Jeff Kinley's Wimpy Kid, Double Down, The Last Straw, The Getaway, Roderick Rules, and Hard Luck. Hagar the Horrible, Caught in the Hat by Dick Brown, Playing Nice by J.P. Delaney, Into the Water by Paula Hawkins, Dungeon Academy, No Humans Allowed by Tim Probert, Stories for Kids Who Dare to Be Different by Ben Brooks, Discovering Britain, Walking with Dinosaurs, The Chateau, Illustrated Atlas of the World, Minecraft Annual, some Beano comics, and this really awesome looking Atlas of Archaeology. Got the Gallery Girl, Slave Girl series by Louise Allen, The Authenticity Project by Claire Pooley, Evil Games by Angela Marsons, Henning Mankell's The Fifth Woman, Death Comes to Marlowe by Robert Thorogood, and The Trouble with Goats and Sheep by Joanne Cannon. Hey guys, we've got lots of new stuff in. We've got Sun and the Flowers there by Korth, The Long Goodbye by Raymond Chandler, and I'll Let Him Go by the mother of James Bulger, Denise Fergus. And lots of new stuff in down here, but unfortunately I keep getting mixed up with what I've done and what I haven't done. I know I haven't done these ones, so let's do these. We've got Woman Don't Owe You Pretty by Florence Given, Thieves Gambit by Kavian Lewis, Winston Graham's Bella Poldark, Hidden Debts by Anne Cleves, The Final Reckoning by Sam Bourne, Goldilocks by Laura Lamb, The Holy Land, The Land of Stories, Worlds Collide by Chris Colfer, Who Was John, Stephen Fry's Making History, The Undoing by Jean Korlitz, One of Us Is Back by Karen McManus, The Star and the Strange Moon by Constance Sayers, Alex Gray Out of the Darkness, My Secret Lies With You by Faye Bird, Perfect Family Man by M.M. Dulkulka, Raymond E. Feist's Mistress of the Empire by Johnny Wirtz and Raymond E. Feist, The Savage Stone Age by Horrible Histories, Only in London by Hanan Al-Shaikha, Fabric by Victoria Finlay, The Shipping News by E. Annie Proulx, Full Hearts and Empty Bellies by Winifred Foley, The Dream Merchant by Isabel Hovin, The Good Husband of Zebra Drive by Alexander McCall Smith, Pete Robinson's The Past Reason Hatred, Travelling to Infinity by Jane Hawking, Eragon by Christopher Paolini, Disgusting Digestion Horrible History Book, Niall Ferguson's Virtual History, Sounds Dreadful by Horrible Science, Tutankhamun Horrible History, Descartes' Error by Antonio Damasio, Essentials of Modern Physics, Come Out of Repair, The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebald, 2000 Years of Christ's Power by Nick Needham, Ellis Peters, The Fifth Cadafel Omnibus, Window Shopping by Tessa Bailey, Lie With Me by Sabine Durrant, See Inside Your Head, Usborne Flatbook, 44 Scotland Street by Alexander McCall Smith, Maxwell's Zoom by MJ Troll, Everything by Nicola Yoon, Help Me by Miriam Power, Con Ingledon's Emperor, The Blood of Gods, Madame Bovary's Gustave Flaubert, Your Bloodline by Casey Keane, The Girlfriend by Michelle Francis. Before by Anne Todd. It's Not Grim Up North by Judith Holder. Gallant by V.E. Schwab. Tom Clancy's Shadow of the Dragon. Let's Split Up by Bill Wood. Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. The Tattooist of Auschwitz and Leonardo da Vinci's Dead Famous book. Silver Linings by Matthew Quick. Alone with God by John MacArthur. The Nearest Far Away by Haley Long. London Mystery by Simon Dowd. Sweet Fruit Sour Land by Rebecca Leigh. The Lost Hours by Susan Lewis. Dorothy Sayers' Gaudy Night. The Orphans on the Train by Jill Thompson. The Jewel of St. Petersburg by Kate Furnival. The Black Book of Secrets by F.E. Higgins. Codename Forced by Gustav Skordeman. The Sun in Splendor by Sharon Penman. The Pastor's Wife by Gloria Furman. Dirty Glory by Pete Greig. Trouble with Goats and Sheep by Joanne Cannon. Death Comes to Marlowe, Black and Blue, Winter Solace, Gems from Genesis, Fascination, Playing Nice, and I think we've seen that yesterday. I know there's more stuff in as well at the back there, just got them a bit mixed up. And we got some more. While My Eyes Were Closed by Linda Green, and The Lost and the Found by Kat Clark.
Hey guys, what's on new stuff in at the front here at Burnley? First of all, we've got The Screw Tape Letters by C.S. Lewis, 50 Shades Damper of Parody and 50 Shades of Grey, The Green of Poisons by Robert Thorogood, Fearless by Lauren Roberts, Murder Takes Root by Rosie Sandler, The Trials of Life by David Attenborough, Planet Earth, a BBC book, Great War for Civilization, The Conquest and Release by Robert Fisk, Behaving Like Adults by Anna Max, The Rose Labyrinth by Titania Hardy, The Kingdoms by Natasha Fuller, Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin, Finding Freedom by Omid Scobie, James Patterson's Sisters Detective Agency, The Last House on the Street by Diane Chamberlain, Julian May's The Many Coloured Land, Saga of the Exiles, Calypso by David Sedaris, History of Modern Britain by Andrew Mark, Who's Daddy Not by Stuart Howard, Chuck Palahniuk, Survivor, Psychology by George A. Miller, Grey Mountain by John Grisham, Opening Case of Emergency by Mike Grabton, Storm of Swords, Steel and Snow by George R. R. Martin, The Life by Hanya Yanagihara, Invisible Woman by Caroline Credo Perez, Mario Puzo's The Godfather, Woeful Second World War, Horrible Histories, Stoner by John Williams, Alexander McCall Smith's William Shoes and Happiness, Adventures Beyond the Body by William Dolman, Frozen Out by Clinton Bates, Ruthless Woman by Melanie Blake, Dead Sweet by Catherine Julius Sautry, Storm of Swords, Blood and Gold by George R. R. Martin, The Coffin Trial by Martin Edwards, A Clash of Kings by George R. R. Martin, Troubled Blood by Robert Galbraith, Warrior of the Wild by Tricia Levenseller, Stranger in Jerusalem by Jeffrey Ainsworth Williams, Big Short by Michael Lewis, Penguins and Panamas by Jamie Gray, Summoner by Taran Mataro, Slimy Stewart by Horrible Histories, Villainous Victorians by Horrible Histories, Singular Hostage by Falasa Ali, Terrible Tudors, Horrible Histories. I've got these, I think, in English. Dennis Wheatley. Yeah, Dennis Wheatley, The Launching of Roger Brooke, The Cave of Hillary, Hybrid by Sean Hudson, A Go Between by Osman Usada, Sally Vickers' Miss Garnet's Angel, Possible by Dan Brown, Lawrence Lee's Their Darkest Hour, Storm of Sword, Blood and Gold, The Busybody by Kemper Donovan, Head of State by Andrew Marr, Serpent and the Wings of Night by Teresa Broadbent, What Would Google Do by Jeff Jarvis, Ben Elton's High Society, Jill Hornby's The Hive, Emma by Jane Austen, Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen, Aya Tema's When the Iron Eagle Flies, Frightful First World War, Peaky Blinders The Real Story, Ugly by Constance Briscoe, Savage Stone Age by Horrible Histories, Incredible Incas by Horrible Histories, Sharon M. Draper's Out of My Mind, Malcolm Heat, Devastating Hate, Barbara Taylor Bradford, Having Been Look, Worship Down by Richard Adams, Emma by Jane Austen, Speckled by Scott Westerfeld, The Blind Assassin by Margaret Atwood, Disgusting Digestion, Horrible Science, Valedictorian, Quick Thought, Short Selves, Greedy Greeks, Bishop Vikings, Barmy, British Empire, Rotten Romans, A Column of Fire by Ken Follett, Moby Dick by Herman Melville, New Late Middle Ages by Horrible Histories, Gorgeous Georgians by Horrible Histories, Storm and Norman by Horrible Histories, Blitz Brits by Horrible Histories, Vanity Fair by William McCuskey, Umbrella by Will Self, Losing Gemma, a novel by Casey Gardner, Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman, Anyone But Him by Sheila O'Flanagan, and The Stranger on the Road to Emmaus by John R. Cross.
Hey guys, another stack of books in at Burnley. We've got Ruth Hamilton's Milligan's Yard and Saturday's Child. Wrote the recovery of Rose Gold by Stephanie Roble. Sails of Sunset by Cecil Roberts. White Oak Heritage by Mazo de la Roche. And Pelican Inn by Hilda Lewis. Angels Watching Over Me by Jackie Newcomb. The Serial Killer's Wife by Alice Hunter. Ian Rankin's The Black Book. Notes from a Small Island by Bill Bryson. The Dalai Lama's Cat by David Mitchell. And Kathy Bramley's The Sunrise Sisterhood.
Managed to lose track of what's in stock new, but I think this stuff here, I think they might come to this stuff. So this is a new Rolling with the Storms, Cheryl Wood Dreamlander, Project Contours, I don't know how she does it, by Alison Pearson, The Tricksters by Margaret Miller, The Hunting Party by Lucy Fowler, and Zedge, Sarkowski's Sword of Destiny, and The Tower of the Swallow, and Matt Higgs' How to Stop Time.
You guys got some more new stuff in. Got the Keswick hymn book. Letters to Young Churches, really old, nice book. In His Name by prepared by George Appleton. The English Hymnal, another nice old book. The EUP music, and A Year of Grace, another quite old book. And down here we have Last Train to Memphis, Rise of Elvis Presley by Peter Guralnick. Here Be Witches by Sarah Musey. Jeremy Paxman, The English Portrait of People. Must Have by Jeffrey Miller. Googled, The End of the World as We Know It by Ken Auletta. And First Man by James R. Hansen. The Killing Habit by Mark Billingham. The Wrong Girl by David Houston. The Summer Girl by Jenny Backhurst. Faye Kellerman's Cold Case. Drop Shot by Harlan Coben. And Mark Billingham's In the Dark.
The Laws of Nature by Robert Greene.
Hey guys, got some new stuff in. We've got Stephen King's Blaze, Helpless by Kathy Glass, Better Off Dead by Lee Child, Tracer by Jason Dean, Full Catastrophe Living by John Kabat-Zinn. Eclipse by Stephanie Meyer. Just After Sunset by Stephen King. Scar Tissue by Anthony Kiedis. Daily Laws by Robert Greene. Court of Thorn and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. New Moon by Stephanie Meyer. Oxford Book of Light Verse by W.H. Auden. The Voyage of the Space Beetle by A.E. Van Vogt. The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. The Murder of Harriet Monckton by Elizabeth Haynes. Wash This Blood Clean From My Hand by Fred Vargas. The Searcher by Tana French. Midnight Library by Matt Haig. Twilight by Stephanie Meyer. Mortal Causes by Ian Rankin. Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. What the Bible Teaches by R.A. Torre. James Elroy's Blood's a Rover. The Intruder by Frida McFadden and The Boyfriend by Frida McFadden. Court by Harlan Coben. Kayla by Colin Walsh. Crybaby by Mark Billingham. Mosquito by Roland White. Home by Harlan Coben. A Guide to Tolkien by David Day. The Long Firm Trilogy by Jake Arnott. Don't You Cry by Cass Green. That weren't in new today, neither was that. Daring Greatly by Brenna Brown. Agatha Christie's The Mystery of the Blue Train. The Secrets He Kept by Jackie Walsh. Robert Ludlum's The Cassandra Compact. War Baby by Beryl Kingston. Field Guide to Birds. Black Ship by Carolina Dunn. Becoming Molly May by Molly May. Catherine Ryan, The Audacity. The Girl in the Spider's Web by Stieg Larsson. Extinction by Bradley Sommer. Stories from Shakespeare by Geraldine McCorrine. Sue Grafton's U is for Undertow. Would You Rather by Harrison Brocklehurst. The Trees Grew Because I Bled Here, There by Eric LaRocca. The Wolf of Wall Street by Jordan Belfont. Lonely Planet Book of Everything by Nigel Holmes. Soft Phones Volume 2 by Bridget DeVoe. The Age of Miracles by Karen Thompson Walker. Scaredy Cat by Mark Billingham. Three Little Lies by Laura Marshall. Into the Black by Roland White. Hello Kitty Dictionary. Three Graves Full by Jamie Mason. Familiar by J. Robert Lennon. For the Love of Life by Anne Ming. Agatha Christie's Sad Cypress. The Bible for Children. Nightmares of Nature. Star Wars and his Horrible History books. Horrible History is Woeful Second World War, Frightful First World War, Vile Victorians, Measly Middle Ages, Terrifying Tudors, Awful Egyptians, Slimy Stuarts, Gorgeous Georgians, Ruthless Romans and Groovy Greeks. We've got some more new stuff in. We've got Nefertiti, A Novel History's Most Glorious Queen by Nicole Vidal. Like Mother Like Daughter by Kimberly McCreight. The Law of Attraction, The Basics of the Teachings of Abraham by Esther and Jerry Hicks. The Kinks, You Really Got Me. You Are Fatally Invited by Andy Pilago. The Asylum by Carol Minto. And The Magician's Summer of Evie Elderman by Harriet D. Masquita. Check this out, guys. Some absolutely awesome books, just in mostly music biographies. Let's have a look. So we have John Peel, Margrave of the Marshes, his autobiography. Shaky, Neil Young's biography by Jimmy McDonough. Good Night and Good Riddance, How 35 Years of John Peel Helped Shape Modern Life by David Kavanagh. Jimi Hendrix by Sharon Lawrence. Come As You Are, The Story of Nirvana by Michael Azerrad. Lennon Remembers by Jan S. Wenner. Decades of Our Lives, the 60s. Rolling Stones, 50 Years by Christopher Sanford. Jimi Hendrix, Crosstown Traffic and Post-War Pop by Charles Shaw Murray. Elton by Philip Norman. Paul Weller by Paolo Hewitt. Stone Roses, War and Peace. Dusty Springfield's Dancing with Demons. In the Beauty of the Lilies by John Updike. Cranky Old Golfers, a few golf books as well. Iggy Pop by Joe Ambrose. Richard Wilson's Tarantula by Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan's Basement Tapes by Greil Marcus. Nick Kent, The Dark Stuff. Morrissey's Manchester by Mark Glover, I think. Syd Barrett and Pink Floyd by Julian Palacios, Lost in the Woods. Disco, Michael Jackson, Bruce Springsteen, Jimi Hendrix, Donovan the Hurdy-Gurdy Man, Sinatra, The Life by Anthony Summers, Rat Pack by Sean Levy, The Mod Father by David Lyons, Bob Dylan, Born to Run, Bruce Springsteen, Glory Days, Bruce Springsteen. It Happened in Manchester music by Alan Lawson, Johnny Walker's autobiography, Alan Bennett, The History Boys, Memphis by Tara M. Stringfellow, Outlawed by Anna North, The Hotel Avocado by Bob Mortimer, American Scream, The Bill Hicks Story, Catch a Fire, Laugh at Bob Marley, 24-Hour Party People by Tony Wilson, Stairway to Heaven, Led Zeppelin Uncensored, The Secret Hours by Mick Herron, Quentin Jardin, Hour of Darkness, No One Here Gets Out Alive, Led Zeppelin by Mick Wall, Michael Jackson, Magic and the Madness by J. Randy Taraborella, Neil Young's Waging Heavy Peace, Alexander McCall Smith, The Winds from Further West, The Stones by Philip Norman, The Hacienda, How Not to Run a Club by Peter Hook, Life, Keith Richards, Evil Spirits, The Life of Oliver Reed by Cliff Goodwin, Book of Golf Hotels, Guide to Golf Courses, Golf Rules Explained, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, Daughter of China by Mei Hong Xu and Larry Engelman, Force of Nature by Jane Harper, The Last Days of Kyra Mullen by Nicky French, Lethal Agent by Vince Flynn, Bill Hicks, Love All the People, Paradise News by David Lodge, and Into the Fire by MJ Arledge. Some more new stuff here. We've got Rob Rinders, The Suspect, Freedom McFadden's The Boyfriend, Jeremy Vine's Murder on Line 1, Adam Kay's A Particularly Nasty Case, World's Greatest Cities, Milkman by Anna Burns, How to Kill Men by Katie Brent, Everyone Here Is Lying by Cherie Lapina, The Sacred Diary of Adrian Plass, age 45 3/4, Strange Sally Diamond by Liz Nugent, and Until I Kill You by Delia Balmer.
We've got some more King Dog, Wicked Prey by John Stanford, Robert Predictions, Baby Out, Do Not Stay by Freedom McFadden, and Tyler's The Amateur Marriage. On new stuff in, we've got Fairies of Victory for the Auction Girls, Christmas with the Auction Girls, Dan Brown's The Lost It Cousin, Leo False Coins, Anna Karina, Poetry, Death Comes to Marlowe by Robert Thorogood, A Penny Dip by Meg Hutchinson, Get Your These Together by Sarah Knight, All the Hope of the Girl on the Train, The Rook by Daniel O'Malley, Complete Illustrated Sherlock Holmes, Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes, Mary Whose Parts Belong to Me, One Day by David Nichols. Where's Wally? First one's activity book. I want to dive. I want to read Tia Kaboke by Dave Stillman. I want to dive, but I still want to read Tia Kaboke. Ian Michael's Doors Open. The Hurry Child by David Elkin, PhD. The Charm Curse of Others by Alexander Scott Smith. John Green's Paper Towns. Vicky Berries. Vicky Easy Story of Ren Time Christmas. I Belong Here by Anita Svete. Rain on the Dead by Jack Higgins. About teen girls. Awful Hearts, the Wrens, and A New Start for the Wrens. The Child of the World. It's like it's the last conference. The Luminaries by by Gilbert White. Player Her Hacker Born by Mary Lou Walker. George Orwell 1984. Chain by Salman Rushdie. Black Angel by Graham Masterson. The work of Samuel Taylor and Coleridge. Research by Philip Kerr. Christian Poetry Collection. Power of Dawn by Sarah J. Maas. Elders by Christopher Pale and Stephen Donaldson. Here we've got some more new stuff in just here. We've got Little Dribbling by Bill Bryson. P.D. James' The Black Tower. Lisa Miss Corn's The Darkness Gathers. Pandora's Jar by Natalie Haynes. My Dog Vanessa by Kate Elizabeth Russell. Learning to Think by Tracy King. The House of Global History by Ed Hussein. Dummyland, A Complete Book 3 by Steve Aylett. Melvin Bragg's A Son of War. Agent Sonia by Ben McIntyre. The Wild Robot by Peter Brown. Hits Different by Tasha Gouiri. Against the Machine, Being Human in the Age of the Electronic Mob by Lee Siegel. Storm Sister by Lucinda Riley. Rooftoppers by Catherine Dundell. Virgin by Robin Maxwell. Death of a Traitor by MC Beaton. Opening the Gates of Hell by Mark Hodkinson. The Wild Robot Escapes by Peter Brown. The Wild Robot Protects by Peter Brown. Fast Ice by Clive Cussler. And J.D. Kirk's Come Hell or High Water.
A couple more new books. We've got 59 Seconds by Professor Richard Wiseman. Elizabeth McNeil's Wild Heritage and MC Beaton's Potted Gardener from Agatha Raisin series.
And some more in new. We've got Invisible Darkness by Jonathan King. We All Have Our Secrets by Jane Corey. Don't Believe a Word by Susan Lewis. And The Beekeeper of Aleppo by Christy Lefterre.
Hey guys, we've got lots of new stuff in. Got Dead Girls Dancing by Graham Masterton. Heretic by Bernard Cornwall. Sliver of Truth by Lisa Unger. The God of Small Things by Aaron Darter-Roy. Cold by Ranulph Fiennes. Poldark Demzera by Winston Graham. Levered by John Hopkins. Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Lena Taylor. The Shack by W.M. Paul Young. Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. In at the Deep End by Kate Davis. Trill Babe by George de Moria. Behind Closed Doors by Maggie Hartley. Talking with Sackpass and Savages by Christopher Berry Deep. The Universe by Jemima Small versus the Universe by Tasmin Winter. Unnatural Causes by Dr. Richard Shepard. The Third Reich at War by Richard J. Evans. Cracked, Why Psychiatry is Doing More Harm Than Good by James Davis. Clothed with Strength by Sarah Allen. Tales of the Alhambra by Washington Irvine. The Panda Theory by Pascal Garnier. And The Mountains Echoed by Khalid Hosseini. The Bolds by Julian Clary. Ernest Che Guevara, The Bolivian Diary. Big book on Impressionism. And Chris Hadfield's You Are Here. Bad Gays, A Homosexual History by Hugh Lemmy and Ben Miller. The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. Autobiography of Malcolm X. My Place by Sally Morgan. Grit by Angela Duckworth. Hannah Gadsby's 10 Steps to Nanette. The Last Kids on Earth and the Skeleton Road by Max Brallier. The Last Kids on Earth and the Nightmare King by Max Brallier. My Cousin is a Time Traveller by David Solomon. A Murderous Innocence by Alison Scott Skelton. Notes from a Small Island by Bill Bryson. New York by Edward Rutherford. To the Edge of the Sky by Anhua Gale. Eden by Tim Smith. Another copy of The Shack. Fingersmith by Sarah Waters. The Death's Head Chess Club by John Donoghue. Dirty Work by Gabriel Weston. Death Row by Michelle Lyons. Peter Pan by Jane Barry. Adventures from the Technology Underground by William Gerstel. Poetry of Edward Lear. All About Heaven by David Oliver. Everything to Declare by John Frost. Time Tales by Alexander Cole Smith. Babes in the Wood by Graham Bertel and Peter James. Holy Warriors by Edna Fernandez. Book of Independence. The Tudor Age by Jasper Ridley. Love All the People by Bill Hicks. The Pheasants Revolt by Brian Vinier. God at the End of the Century by David Spriggs. Cold as the Grave by James Oswald. The Stone Diaries by Carol Shields. Isaac Newton by James Cleric. Small Island by Andrea Levy. Man Disconnected by Philip Zimbardo. The Phantom of Manhattan by Frederick Forsyth. Random Acts of Heroic Love by Danny Shyman. Life in Verse, Journey Through Poetry edited by Alexis Kirschbaum. Hungry Ghost by Shyam Selduvia. The Rook. Oh, sorry, these were that one this week. Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov. The Mozart Conspiracy by Scott Mariani. History of Lancashire by P.J. Goodison. The Monsters Know What They're Doing by Keith Amman. Still Lost in Translation by Charlie Crocker. Soul Mountain by Gail Chinjang. Running the Maze by Jack Colin. Girl Crush by Florence Given. Bill Bryson's Down Under. Nothing to Envy by Barbara Demick. Real Lives in North Korea. On the Spartacus Road by Peter Stothard. Know What by Brad Burton. The Infinite Cosmos by Joseph Silk. Obviously Clark's 3001. The Stanley Holloway Monologues. World History with the Atlas. Hande, The Hungry Spirit. And The World's Worst Disasters and Mistakes. Manifest Now by Idol Ahmed. Twisted Hate by Anu Hogg. The Burial Circle by Kate Ellis. What If by Randall Munro. Twisted Love by Anu Hogg. Ultra Processed People by Chris Van Tuleken. The Novel of Liar's Lunch and Lost Knickers by Matt Beaumont. Born to Shop by Mike Starkey. How to Be Human by Ruby Wax. The Right Move by Liz Tomford. The Sun by Philip Mayer. Seven Husbands of Elvin Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. The Little Coffee Shop of Kabul by Deborah Rodriguez. The Winter Ghost by Kate Moss. A Million Kisses in Your Lifetime by Monica Murphy. It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. The Magical Summer of Evie Edelman by Harriet D. Mesquita. Fountainhead by Avon. Right, so. Jane I by Charlotte Brunt. Colleen Hoover's Too Late. Is there any more new stuff in? That might be everything. That's everything for now. And some more new stuff in. We've got Daisy Jones, The Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid, The Storyteller by Dave Grohl, Great Expectations by Charles Dickens, Swinsen, British Greatest Public School, The Mysteries by Robert McGill, Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens, Songs of Praise and A Little New Testament, Foreign Deceit by Jeff Carson, Crown of Elos by Nora Lofts, Scarlet Feather by Hilton Jones, Thomas Gage by James Fleming, Blood and Thunder by Hampton Sides, The Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown, illustrated version, Jane Austen and Her World by Margarita Lasky, Recce for Life by Penelope Quest, and Angels in My Hair by Lorna Bryan. And some more new stuff in. We've got The Iliad by Homer, Virgil, The Aeneid, Kurt Cobain's biography Heavier Than Heaven by Charles R. Cross, The Punishment She Deserves by Elizabeth George, Johnny Cash's autobiography, and Moneyland by Oliver Bullough. Hey guys, absolutely mental at the frontier at the shop. Okay, we've got 6 big bags for last full in just now, and a lot of these piles around the front are new. So new in, we got Being Human in a Cosmic Context, Christ and the Cosmos, Jeffrey Archer's Be Careful What You Wish For, and This Was a Man, Religion in an Age of Science by Ian G. Barber, The Lemon Tree by Sandy Tolan, The Anniversary Man by R.J. Ellery, Will Smith, Courtney's War, The Impossible Dead by Ian Rankin, Slave, Anna with Jason Johnson, Angela Marston's Lost Girls, Jeffrey Archer's Over My Dead Body, The Jewish People, Their History and Their Religion by David J. Goldberg and John D. Rayner, Never Hit a Jellyfish with a Spade by Guy Browning, Naked by David Sedaris, Nothing Ventured by Jeffrey Archer, and Next in Line by Jeffrey Archer, Margot's Got Money Troubles by Ruthie Thorpe, Lee Child, The Hard Way, A Game of Lies by Claire McIntosh, You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight by Kaylin Bayron, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas by Hunter S. Thompson, Pablo Escobar's Story Part 1 and Part 2, The Lost Relic by Scott Mariani, Ultra Processed People by Chris Van Tuleken, June by Frank Herbert, Mythos by Stephen Fry, Malice by John Gwynn, Sons of Fortune by Jeffrey Archer and Heads You Win by Jeffrey Archer, The One Kingdom by Sean Russell, Leonardo the First Scientist by Michael White, Pablo Escobar's Story Part 3, The Prisoner of Heaven by Carlos Ruiz Zafon, Everyone Said They Were Witches, don't know who that's by. This one's new in Jewish and Christian Self-Definition, FX Ethics in the Age of Technology by Ian Barber, The Girl in the Red Coat by Kate Hammer, Cross Currents, Interactions Between Science and Faith by Colin A. Russell, Dan Brown's Inferno, The Weaker Vessel by Antonio Fraser, Science and Wonders by Russell Stannard, The Shadow of the Gillian by Gerd Fisian, Questions of Science by Andrew Barton, The Queen's Rival by Anne O'Brien, Textbook of Physical Chemistry, and Basic Principles of Organic Chemistry. Okay, even more new stuff in. Probably not going to be able to get through it all, but let's try our best. Okay, so we'll look at the sides instead of going through each one. See, we've got Patricia Cornwell, Tony Kent. Oh, we'll have to do it. Patricia Cornwell's from Potter's Field. Killer Intent by Tony Kent. Harlan Coben's Win. Patricia Cornwell's Scarpetta Factor. David Badachi's Redemption. Chaos by Patricia Cornwell. Ruth Ware's The Woman in Cabin 10. Karen Slaughter's The Kept Woman. The Charlotte by Catherine Cooper. City of Sinners by A.A. Dehand. Patricia Cornwell's Cruel Unusual. Ian Rankin's The Beat Goes On. Beg to Die by Beverly Barton. Patricia Cornwell's Port Mortuary. Karen Slaughter's Pieces of Her. Patricia Cornwell's Scarpetta. The Last Mile by David Baldacci. The Fix by David Baldacci. Beverly Barton's Cold Hearted, Patricia Cornwell's Red Mist, James Patterson Hunted, Kathy Wright's Cold Bones, Patricia Cornwell's Scarpenter again, Chris Carter's Gallery of the Dead, The Port Mortuary by Patricia Cornwell, Sylvia Day, Bare to You, I Found You by Lisa Jewell, Joan Esbo's Nemesis, James Patterson's Along Came a Spider, C.J. Carver's Spare Me the Truth, Mark Billingham, Lifeless, The First by Joan Esbo, One Good Deed by David Baldacci, The Red Breast by Joan Esbo, Martina Cole's Two Women, The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell, Millie Johnson, The Queen of Wishful Thinking, NYPD Red by James Patterson, Josephine Cox, A Time for Us, Linda LaPlante's Bloodline, Peter James's Left You Dead, Dangerous Deception by Beverly Barton, A Time to Die by Beverly Barton, The First by Joan Esbo, Right Behind You by Lisa Gardner, False Impression by Jeffrey Archer, The River Murders by James Patterson, Lisa Jewell's The Girls, If Looks Could Kill by Beverly Barton, Joan Esbo's Police, Kathy Wright's The Born Hacker, The Shadow by James Patterson, PJ Tracy's Dead Run, Mark Billingham's Scaredy Cat, James Patterson's Shattered, Killer Instinct by James Patterson, Unsolved by James Patterson, The Moors Are Missing by James Patterson, Lisa Jewell's The Night She Disappeared, Charlene Harris's Night Shift, Breaking Dawn by Stephanie Meyer, The House on Cold Hill by James Patterson, The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins, James Patterson Killer Instinct, The War by Ant Middleton, The Vanishing Act by Sarah Ward, Andy McNabb's The Hunt, At Risk by Patricia Cornwell, Before She Was Found by Heather Goodenkoff, When the Wind Blows by James Patterson, Tess Gerritsen's Keeper of Bride, Mark Dawson's The Driver, Tom Clancy's Point of Contact, Idiot by Laura Clary, Karen Slaughter by Pretty Girls, Patricia Cornwell's Blowfly, Blackout by Mark Ellsberg, Kathy Wright's Devil Bones, The Born Bed by Patricia Cornwell, Karen Slaughter's Fallen, Charlene Harry's Day Shift, James Patterson, Suzanne's Diary for Nicholas, Karen Slaughter's Cop Town, James Patterson, Roses Are Red, 50 Shades Freed by E.L. James, The Couple Next Door by Sherry Lapina, R.J. Elleray, A Simple Act of Violence, another 50 Shades Freed, The Redeemer by Joan Esbo, Sale by James Patterson, Mark Billingham's Lazy Bones, Patricia Cornwell's Unnatural Death, Two Evils by P.J. Tracy, James Patterson, Jack and Jill, James Patterson's and David Ellis Murder House, You Are Dead by Peter James, Karen Slaughter's Criminal, Leanne Moriarty's Nine Perfect Strangers, Death of the Black Widow by James Patterson, Guilty Wild by James Patterson, Joan Esbo, The Leopard, John Grisham's Time for Mercy, Stephen King's Dreamcatcher, Erica Spindler in Silence, Outsider by Stephen King, Karen Slaughter's Blindsided, The River Murders by James Patterson, Millie Johnson, Here Comes the Girls, Karen Slaughter's The Last Widow, James Patterson, Kiss the Girls, James Patterson, The Inn, Alex, Pretty Girls by Karen Slaughter, Linda LaPlante, Accused, James Patterson, Maximum Tide, The Naughty Girls Book Club by Sophie Hart, and The Texas Murders by James Patterson. So thank you guys for checking out the bookshop. Sorry that we couldn't look through everything, and sorry about the video being so long. Hopefully it's not too long to be able to be exported, but we'll see about that. See you all again next time at Burnley Market and Halifax. God bless everyone. Bye bye.